ship is seeking a nod to make port in Sri Lanka, because the earlier ship that was downed by a US submarine was an Iranian frigate. It was a warship that was downed by a US submarine, and Pete Hegseth made it extremely clear that no matter where Iranian military assets are, the United States will continue to target them. I want to get more updates from my colleague Akanksha, who's getting us this piece of breaking news. Akanksha, so it seems the conflict is only spilling over into our backyard.
Absolutely, and they have in fact asked for permission to dock over there. And in the latest information that we are being told is that what's very disturbing is that there are children also on board on this particular vessel. Given that we've seen how a torpedo in fact destroyed that one, the other Iranian vessel named Dana, we do not know how safe this particular vessel is going to be. Will the Indian government be willing to provide them protection right now, or will the Sri Lankan government be in a situation to provide them protection? It is in fact right now fairly nascent to comment on that, because we are not getting in much information, but we are being told that there's a second vessel which is being stranded. Now, what's also important to note over here, Ayushman, is the fact that this entire conflict is spilling onto a maritime conflict as well. From Strait of Hormuz, you're looking at the IOR, the Indian Ocean region, which is bearing the brunt of this. And for all you know, this vessel actually could be in a very fragile condition right now. It's extremely vulnerable, given that we've already seen the loss of 80 lives in the previous incident that's taken place, which was a torpedo sent out by a US submarine. According to Pete Hegseth, the defense secretary in the United States, it's the first time the US has torpedoed a vessel after World War II.
Right, but at the same time, we were speaking to Namal Rajapaksa yesterday as well, and he has said that the Sri Lankan government has not been forthcoming with a lot of the information. There is also reports which are coming in that Sri Lanka could have been in the know when it comes to the US operation against the Iranian frigate, which was downed by the US submarine.
That's an information that actually can be posed to India also, because they were, in fact, were invited initially to our own naval exercise, Milan. And the question that's now being raised is that for how long could this have been an Indian responsibility, given that they were here upon our invitation? A. B. It was participating in a naval exercise, which is why that ship was entirely defenseless. They did not have arms and ammunition to defend themselves. So to attack such a ship, was it even justified, that even though it was a warrior ship? Yes. And so let's not forget, Namal Rajapaksa is also an opposition voice right now. So for them to actually raise questions at the government of Sri Lanka, nonetheless, they have provided rescue, which initially, according to the Vienna Convention, should have come from the United States, not Sri Lanka.
Absolutely. Thank you, Akanksha, for getting us that update. So these are the big updates which are coming in as the war seems to be shifting to our backyard, where another Iranian ship now seeking port in Sri Lanka, coming right after the Iranian frigate was downed by the United States. So more and more updates coming in as the war continues to spill over, and it seems there is a bullseye on each and every Iranian vessel, no matter where in the world, in this case, near India. More breaking news that's coming in. Iran makes a conditional offer to the US. Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister says that Iran is ready to abandon its nuclear program on the condition that the United States presents a satisfactory alternative offer, is the pitch that's coming in from the Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to the war games going on in the Middle East, it seems some wiggle room coming in from the Iranian side to come to some sort of resolution. Iran has been bombarded across Tehran, and as well as other military as well as civilian infrastructure across the country, namely the command centers across Iran have been completely bombarded. Even their military installations have been leveled by this consistent American and Israeli strikes. So it seems the Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister has said that Iran is willing to give up its entire nuclear program if there is an alternative offer coming in from the United States. So has Donald Trump pushed Iran to the talking table when it comes to seeking a resolution for the conflict that is only escalating in the Middle East? To get more details, I'm joined by my colleague Greha on the broadcast. Greha, so some concessions seem to be coming in from the Iranian side.
And that's a big statement to make, Ayushman, particularly from Iran, where they are going and putting it in black and white that they are ready to abandon their entire nuclear program if an alternative is offered by the US. Now, how does one look at it? Is Iran on the back foot because of the pounding that it's receiving on part of US and Israeli forces? Or is it that they want the dialogue now? Because remember, the earlier stance by Arakshi was that they do not want a dialogue now that the escalation has come in from America and Israel. But now there is a counter stance that has been brought to fore. So are we looking at a dialogue, or there is an underhanded conversation that is already happening with the US and the Iranian regime for that matter of a possibility of a dialogue? Because we have been discussing about how different narratives are coming to fore when it is about Washington. So is there a conversation that has happened beyond the radar when it is about between Washington and Tehran? Is the big question now that this statement has been made, ready to give up their nuclear ambitions, if at all an alternative is offered by America. But what that alternative is going to be is again the big question, because they were stockpiling uranium. They were saying that this is not for building a nuclear weapon. So what happens to that? Whether there will be an IAEA access to their nuclear facilities, whether that granting is going to be given by the Iranian authorities also is something that we'd have to wait and watch out for.
But the IAEA has given that green light to the Iranian nuclear program, saying it's not a weapons-grade nuclear program. At the same time, is this also indicative of the fact that there could be factionalism within Iran? Because ever since the death of Ayatollah Khamenei, it seems two different voices are coming in from Iran. One just ramping up the tension, saying they will go scorched earth across the Middle East, and now this conciliatory message coming in from the Deputy Foreign Minister.
While you mentioned about that, the fact that the scorched earth policy of Iran is also now has been extended when it is about the energy sector, how oil, energy, everything seems to be impacted. Probably a dialogue has come in from the Gulf nations, because they are bearing the brunt. And because of the Gulf nations, all of the countries that import energy, oil from there, from the OPEC nations, will of course want this reconciliatory stance that possibly Iran is coming to fore with. And also about the leadership question that you mentioned about. Now that Mujtaba is the supreme leader of Iran, there were other moderate factions that have also come in when we take a look at Ali Reza for that matter. Maybe that conciliatory tone is because of that, because they need some kind of a neutral standing somewhere, because a lot of upheaval that Iran has right now gone through. They are still mourning the death of Ali Khamenei. So this could be one particular stance that they want to go ahead and probably have that dialogue with America now finally after this entire exchange of fire. Maybe Iran is on the back foot, or maybe not, who knows.
Absolutely, and that's a very interesting point, that beyond the factionalism, the Gulf nations could also be exerting pressure on Iran to come to the talking table, because the United States has made extremely clear they will control the airspace over Iran, and they will continue to pound the command centers as well as the military assets across the country. So that is the big update that's coming in. Some conciliatory messaging coming in from the top officials in the Iranian regime, but also getting reactions from the Iranian envoy Mohammad Fatah Ali in an exclusive conversation with CNN News 18. Let's get to that.
In the middle of this war.
Yes, you know that we are mourning because we have lost a great figure and great personality. And you know that His Eminence was our leader and our marja. And I want to say that's our father. And we believe that His Eminence always advise us, you try your best for stand on the right side of history. And I believe that His Eminence stood on the right side of history and received his reward from Almighty Allah. And now we announce that we respond strongly, firmly, this assassination. And unfortunately, the United States and the Zionist regime wants to disturb and destroy all the international law and international norms. And you know that we announced that we are, as Iran, due to our capability and capacity, we are ready for negotiation and peace and war. But we prefer the peace. But we are ready, fully ready and completely ready for the war. This is our stance. Now they started the war and we decided to end of the war, the duration of the war.
पटना में श्री नितिन नवीन जी, राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष भाजपा, श्री नीतीश कुमार जी, बिहार के यशस्वी मुख्यमंत्री श्री रामनाथ ठाकुर जी, श्री उपेंद्र कुशवाहा जी और श्री शिवेश राम जी के राज्यसभा के नामांकन के लिए यहाँ पर आया हूँ। श्री नितिन नवीन जी राज्य में लंबे समय तक यशस्वी राजनीति करने के बाद भाजपा के राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष बने हैं और अब वो राज्यसभा के माध्यम से संसद में भी अपना योगदान देंगे। हम सब एनडीए के सदस्य, भाजपा के करोड़ों कार्यकर्ता नितिन नवीन जी का राष्ट्रीय राजनीति में और संसद में स्वागत करते हैं। आज बिहार के यशस्वी मुख्यमंत्री श्री नीतीश कुमार जी ने भी राज्यसभा में अपना नामांकन किया है। इसके साथ ही बहुत लंबे अरसे के बाद श्री नीतीश कुमार जी फिर से एक बार राष्ट्रीय राजनीति में राज्यसभा सांसद के नाते प्रवेश करेंगे। 2005 से लेकर आज तक नीतीश कुमार जी बिहार के मुख्यमंत्री रहे। उनका एक कार्यकाल एक प्रकार से बहुत यशस्वी रहा। ये कार्यकाल उनका बिहार के इतिहास में स्वर्णिम पृष्ठ के रूप में लिखा जाएगा और बिहार के विकास के सारे मायने को उन्होंने गति देने का काम किया। उन्होंने अपने शासनकाल में बिहार को जंगल राज से मुक्त करने का काम किया। इन्होंने बिहार की सड़कों को न केवल गांवों तक जोड़ा, बिहार की सड़कों की स्थिति को भी सुधार किया। इतने लंबे करियर में विधायक, सांसद, मुख्यमंत्री, केंद्रीय मंत्री रहते हुए उनके कुर्ते पर कभी दाग नहीं लगा। पूरा जीवन भ्रष्टाचार के आरोप लगने बगैर इतना लंबा राजनीतिक सफर शायद ही किसी राजनेता ने तय किया हो जो नीतीश कुमार जी ने किया है। बिहार में हर गांव, हर घर में बिजली पहुंचाने में भी उनका बहुत बड़ा योगदान रहा। हमेशा नीतीश जी सादगी, शुचिता और सार्वजनिक जीवन के उच्चतम मूल्यों के पक्षधर रहे, जिनका पालन उन्होंने भी किया। नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में 11 साल तक बिहार को हर प्रकार से आगे ले जाने में बहुत बड़ा योगदान किया और उनके नेतृत्व में ही मोदी जी की भेजी हुई सभी योजनाएं बिहार के जन जन तक पहुंची।
It's a big day in the history of Bihar as the son of the soil Nitish Kumar bids goodbye to his chief ministerial position that is occupied for 10 times, has been the longest serving chief minister, but that is not something which has gone down very well with his supporters as well. Plenty of people have come outside the Vidhan Sabha at least a couple of hours before his nomination to the Rajya Sabha, and they're sitting outside the Vidhan Sabha protesting what they call shouldn't really happen as far as Nitish Kumar is really concerned. आप बताइए, आप लोग समर्थन में नहीं है कि नीतीश कुमार जी राज्यसभा जाए?
नहीं, हम लोग नहीं। हम लोग तो बिहार की जनता जो है बिहार के लिए ने वोट दिया है और बिहार में बहुत सारे विकास अब बाकी है, उसको करना है। तो माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी को बिहार में का ही सेवा करना चाहिए। माननीय पूर्व प्रधानमंत्री अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी जी ने बोले थे आप बिहार जाइए, बिहार को जनता को सेवा कीजिए। तो बिहार आए हैं, बिहार का सेवा करें और दिल्ली और कहीं जाने की आवश्यकता नहीं है।
2025 का जो चुनाव हुआ माननीय मुख्यमंत्री के मैंने फेस पर हुआ, उनके नाम पर हुआ, बहुमत मिला। बिहार की जनता चाह रही है कि माननीय मुख्यमंत्री बने रहें, बिहार के लिए उनकी बहुत ज़रूरत है। अभी वो राज्यसभा में नहीं जाएं, अभी बिहार की बागडोर अपने पास रखें।
आप उनकी पार्टी की फ्लैग लेके भी आए हैं। आप मुझे बताइए, आप क्या चाहते हैं नीतीश कुमार से, क्या
कि वो हमारे बिहार में रहें और बिहार की सेवा करें। हम लोग माननीय रामनाथ ठाकुर जी के समर्थक हैं और अपना जीते और बिहार को विकास करें।
चुनाव में जिस हिसाब से इन लोगों की जीत हुई है, धनतंत्र की जीत हुई है, मशीन तंत्र की जीत हुई है, ये एक एक एनडीए के घटक दल सब लोग जानते हैं कि उनकी जीत इस चुनाव में कैसे हुई। अब हम इतना कहना चाहते हैं, जो हम लोगों के सामने जो समाचार आया, नीतीश जी ने भी पोस्ट किया है कि वो जो है सदन जाना चाहते हैं। आप सब लोगों को पता होगा कि हम शुरुआत से
And shifting focus down south, the high-stakes political standoff in the DMK and the Congress alliance in Tamil Nadu is finally over. After weeks of tough negotiations, Chief Minister M.K. Stalin and Congress leaders have sealed a seat-sharing pact for the 2026 Assembly elections. Now, under the deal, the Congress will contest 28 Assembly seats, a slight increase from 2021, and has also been promised one Rajya Sabha berth. The agreement ends days of public sparring between the allies, with Congress initially pushing for a much larger share before settling on 28 seats. Meanwhile, the NDA has hit out at the pact, saying the Congress has compromised its political soul for survival and accepted a junior role just to stay relevant in the state's electoral battle.
After a lot of delays, finally the DMK and the Congress have signed the deal for 2026. 28 seats for the Congress and one Rajya Sabha seat. Why was there a delay in the first place, and finally how did this happen?
See, as far as we are concerned, there was no delay. This is the period where we have been talking with all the political parties, our alliance partners, and today Congress, because they have more number of seats, we finalized it at the last, that's all. There is no delay on our part. Maybe in between there might have been something within the party which we are not bothered. What their leadership had said, it has been fulfilled.
Was power sharing also discussed, or is that being promised?
No, that was not promised. Our Chief Minister had already stated that there will not be any power sharing. He had categorically stated.
So now you have the DMDK on board. O. Pannirselvam has also joined the DMK. Is it going to be a big boost for the DMK now? All the alliance partners of the DMK
It shows that this is going to be a winning alliance. When other parties that come and join us, which means with their experience, they feel that DMK alliance is the winning alliance.
We are happily signed the agreement. We got 28 seat. After 40 years, we got upward 3 seat extra and 1 Rajya Sabha. So we are very happy. Election, we are going to win 210 seat plus. There is no opposition party. Opposition party, Congress party becoming opposition party. This is ideological alliance, natural alliance, need this alliance. Tamil Nadu people need this alliance.
The DMK Congress tie-up is very similar to the doomed Titanic, and there is a complete breakdown of trust with the Congress and the DMK abusing and insulting each other in the public domain. This DMK Congress nexus has been the most insensitive and extremely opportunistic alliance, and this DMK government is probably one of the most corrupt and incompetent governments in the history of Tamil Nadu. The people of Tamil Nadu will use this assembly election as an opportunity to reject and eject this evil DMK Congress nexus and this evil DMK government, and they will undoubtedly bless the NDA alliance.
And that's the latest coming in on the political front. We will continue to track all those developments coming in. For now, quick break, more news and updates on the other side.
Now, let's quickly move to one of the most potent, low-cost, weapon system that the Iranians have used. That's the kamikaze drones. Now, Iran's swarm tactics decoded via the Shahid drones. Let's try and understand what these kamikaze drones are, and let's move to that and say, what's the Tor? How are they? How is the enemy? In this case, how is the US-Israeli how are they going to negate the threat of these swarms of kamikaze or suicide drones who are going to catch, who have done so much of damage? Let's try and understand. we will try and. So this is the Strait of Hormuz. We've got the issues here. Let's call the Shahid 136. Now these are suicide or kamikaze attack drones. They are one-way loitering munition. This is how they look. They carry a payload of up to 50 kilograms of explosives.
That's approximately this tall or this long, yes, from the ground up here, and with a wingspan like this.
Right.
Approximately. So you can see this better.
Right.
Yep.
So as tall as you? As tall as you?
A little bit taller.
Little bit taller?
Longer, yes.
And with a wingspan
like
here.
Yes.
Wingspan like this.
Iranian version is earlier version. It is much more primitive than what the Russians are deploying in Ukraine.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Foremost, it has no system for terminal guidance.
Right.
It means it has no electro-optical camera, for example, so that the pilot at home can steer it straight into specific target. It has no satellite communication capability.
Okay.
Russian UAVs are meanwhile carrying Starlinks, terminals on them. Some are even armed with air-to-air missiles, so to say.
Yeah.
So, and some of the Russian systems, or Geran, they call them Geran, have terminal electro-optical guidance and thermal warheads which are burning, actually.
Incendiary.
Incendiary warheads,
yeah.
thank you very much.
Okay.
So they are causing really brutal damage when hitting some kind of a building.
Right. So they are designed to dive into the ground targets and detonate on impact. So, but you're saying they don't have cameras, they don't have satellite
yes.
imagery?
Essentially, Iranian UAVs of this type can only target a specific geographic coordinates, nothing else. They cannot target ships, for example.
It weighs about 200 kilograms in total, including the warhead and the booster. It is launched via rocket-assisted rails in large swarms to overwhelm the defenses. My question, General Saab, when you launch something like this, how do you counter this? Because it looks like the UAE and the Gulf nations and the Americans, the cost of defense is far more expensive than the cost of offense. Yeah.
So there is actually no answer to this. Right. The problem is it flies low.
Yeah.
It doesn't take something like what missiles or ballistic missiles does. They fly low. The time to intercept is very, very minimal. The only possibilities for Israelis is to use the iron beam system, because that is the fastest they can actually see, capture.
Hello and welcome, and thank you so much for staying with CNN News 18. We are bringing to you every coverage that is to do with the updates on the West Asian crisis that's only growing, and also the other updates from India. My colleague Akanksha and I would be bringing you all the top stories. Akanksha?
It's already day 5 of the conflict, and we can see how it's quickly escalating and now turning into a maritime conflict, with conflict from Strait of Hormuz also moving over to the Indian Ocean region. Let's get started with the headlines. We're tracking this up.
Rahul Gandhi criticizes Prime Minister's silence for remaining silent after an Iranian warship sank near Sri Lanka, warning the West Asia conflict is now entering India's backyard and threatening regional stability and also energy security.
Reports suggest a second Iranian vessel is stranded near Sri Lanka's Panadura coast. Iran's embassy seeks emergency docking for food and water. Unverified reports say children are on board.
37 Indian ships, 1,109 crew stuck near the Strait of Hormuz. 3 Indian seafarers have been killed as West Asia conflict disrupts shipping in the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman.
Iran strikes Azerbaijan's Nakhchivan with drones. Baku says attack launched from Iranian territory hits airport area, even injures civilians.
Vladimir Putin warns Russia could halt gas supplies to European Union markets, shift energy exports to more profitable buyers amid the global energy shock.
China sends special envoy to Middle East to mediate as Iran-Israel-US conflict escalates, urging protection of civilians, dialogue and stability amid rising regional tensions.
Let's now take a look at this high-stakes war in West Asia. So it's entered its sixth day. It is only escalating with billions that have been spent. No clear end in sight as far as this West Asia crisis is concerned. We are looking at a full-scale war with pounding that is happening from all three sides, whether it is America, Israel, or the counter once that's coming in from Iran. Now, casualties are mounting. Global trade has been disrupted by the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran has begun reaching out to neighboring countries, claiming that it was compelled into acting following the assassination of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei.
On that note, getting in some breaking inputs. In fact, let's quickly give you a sense of what's happening in Doha and Qatar. More fresh explosions, in fact, heard in Qatar is what we are being told. This in the Qatari capital of Doha. And Qatar says it was subjected to missile attack. Even the air defense systems are currently intercepting it. This is the latest statement that's come in from the Qatari defense minister, is what we are being told. In fact, Griha will also be bringing us the latest inputs. But remember, the US allied countries in the Middle East remain on tenterhooks. They are the key target at the moment. We've seen continuous explosions targeting Saudi Arabia. We're looking at even Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain. All of these countries are currently being targeted. The defense ministers say that there have been fresh explosions. We're trying to find out the location. Rigaha is going to bring you the latest updates. But for now, what we can tell you, fresh set of explosions, in fact, reported in Doha.
Absolutely, Akanksha, taking this forward from our live newsroom here, as the war room is only exploding with each and every information that continues coming in. And let's now get in Ayushman. Ayushman, the fact that we are learning of explosions in Doha, and they are asserting that there was a missile strike that has happened. So West Asian conflict only growing, Gulf nations getting impacted. Now missile strikes is something that we are looking
Absolutely. We were earlier seeing just consistent drone strikes coming in from the Iranian side at their energy infrastructure. But it seems ballistic missiles have also been now deployed when it comes to the West Asian as well as the Arab nations. It seems Iran is escalating its air operations as well as its targeted strikes at these Arab nations, especially the American allies, their bases, and now directly even civilian areas seem to be on attack by the Iranian forces. The bullseye is now across these Arab nations, not just their military infrastructure, but even their civilian and energy infrastructure. What we are learning is that Qatar has said that it was subjected to a missile attack. Air defense systems are trying to intercept them, but some are making through the entire dome that they have and the anti-missile air defense systems that they have. Some missiles are making it through, because what we are learning is that a column of black smoke has been seen in Doha's horizon following those explosions. So it seems a barrage of missiles are heading towards these nations, and Qatar being the latest victim.
Before we can access those visuals, we can only understand how dramatic this entire escalation is going on to becoming, since you are mentioning about how black smoke has been seen as emerging, and we will still access those visuals for our viewers. But the use of ballistic missiles not at Israel, America is of course far off, but here we are talking about a Gulf country. On the one hand, we just broke that news that Iran is looking at a dialogue, a possibility where they are actually wanting America to give it an alternative option if they want it to, in fact, stop stockpiling uranium. And on the other hand, we see the use of ballistic missiles not towards Israel, but towards Doha.
Because at the same time, clearly that factionalism comes in. Now, Iran will give a conciliatory note so that the hostilities end, but they can't let up their operations when it comes to defending themselves. And primarily their tactic has been to put pressure on these American allies as well as these Arab nations to ensure that they push even the United States and Israel to play down or to wind down their operations. But the interesting thing that's coming in is that they are ramping up their anti-American as well as Israeli operations by hammering their allies, not these countries particularly, because once the energy infrastructure gets hit, the energy markets are in chaos, and more pressure is put not just from the Arab nations but from other allies on the United States and Israel. And the big development that's coming in is that Pete Hegseth said that in just a short while they will have control of the airspace over Iran, but it seems that's not the case.
Okay, all right. That's the big news that's also coming in from Washington. Akanksha taking this forward. Akanksha, over to you in the studios.
In fact, this is news coming in from Israel. Footage from the historic shootdown of an Iranian Yak-130 fighter jet by an IF Adir F-35 fighter jet has now in fact surfaced. Let's quickly take you through this. This, to break it down for you, is the downing of an Iranian piloted jet, remember, by an Israeli F-35. It's close to a 15 to 16 second clip. All right, this is the target that you're looking at, and in this you can even hear the pilot actually going on to say that I can hear and I have actually executed the overall target. This is where they actually got into a dogfight, an Iranian fighter jet, the Yak-130 being chased down by an Israeli fighter jet. In fact, let's quickly take all of that information. Remember, this incident was being reported over Tehran on Wednesday, and the entire footage has now in fact surfaced. Griha will bring us the details from the newsroom. Griha.
Yes, absolutely, Akanksha. Another development, we are talking about other Iranian Yak that has been downed by Israel. That is a claim that's coming in from the Israeli Air Force. Remember, all of this development continues to be trickling in as they also want to win the narrative war. Ayushman has more. We are looking at another Yak that's been downed by the Israeli Air Force, and they are putting that out. But, you know, I have been asking this whenever these developments come to fore. When it is about Iran, Iran doesn't boast of a very, very strong aerial combat for that matter.
Yeah.
So how much of this is going to be denting their arsenal further?
See, it works towards the aim of the United States and Israel to control the entire airspace. And the Israeli Air Force has been legendary ever since 1948. We all remember that there was the Six-Day War where 4 nations rallied against Israel. That were Iraq, Syria, Jordan, as well as Egypt. Israel, in one day, was able to neutralize their entire air force just by using a handful of fighters. Their pilots are legendary. But when it comes to the air operations over Iran, it's easier said than done. Israel doesn't have that big of an aerial arsenal to take out all of those jets. At the same time, the aim also seems to be to deplete the aerial forces of Iran to ensure that they have no option but to only rely on drones and ballistic missiles. So the aim seems to be this war of attrition so that both sides wear each other down. But Donald Trump has said that he has an unlimited supply. If Donald Trump has an unlimited supply, means Israel has an unlimited supply. But Iran has a very limited supply. So this war of attrition seems to be dragging on to wear each other down. But Iran has the advantage of putting pressure on the Arab nations using its drone strikes, which are very easy to make. They are cheap, they are easily mass-produced, and we have seen highly effective against the Arab nations.
Right, absolutely. And they are definitely going after those ballistic missiles and drones as far as Iran is concerned. That's the version that's coming in from Israel and America. This is the latest one where we are looking at another Iranian jet that has been downed by the Israelis. Akanksha, over to you.
More breaking inputs coming in. These are from Azerbaijan. In fact, as you can see, there are missiles and even a drone attack which was directed at Azerbaijan's international airport. This is the Nakhchivan airport. Terrifying footage goes on to indicate how the airports continue to get targeted by Iran, and in fact that appears like a missile which comes crashing down. This is the Nakhchivan airport, the footage of which we are currently playing out. All right, and a massive explosion over there at the Nakhchivan airport in Azerbaijan. This is the footage that has now come in. Let's in fact quickly show you over there. This explosion's right overhead above the airport. As you can see, it actually, the blast actually happens, and this is the Nakhchivan airport in Azerbaijan. Remember, yesterday itself, Turkey had intercepted a missile which was directed, and now in the neighboring area, you can see that there is Azerbaijan, which is also now on the radar. This is a missile which was directed from Iranian territory. Reports are also indicating that this particular missile was directed from Tehran over to the Nakhchivan airport in Azerbaijan. Let me quickly bring in our guests on the broadcast. I am joined in by Sushant Sareen, who's a senior fellow at the ORF, Lada Galan, who's a partner at Oracle Advisory Group. Thank you to both of you for joining in. Sushant, if I could quickly bring you in on the aspect of how this entire conflict is quickly expanding. You look at this shocking footage that's come in from Azerbaijan.
Yes, look, it's not surprising. It's very clear that the Iranians have, shown their intentions to expand the geography of conflict. Whatever those calculations might be, if it is to pressurize the Western allies or the American-Israeli allies to back off, or that to indicate to them that they are Iran has the capability of attacking all of them and getting away with it. If that's the messaging, it's all very well, but what if all of them gang up against Iran? That hasn't happened so far, but this is a very dangerous kind of a tactic that the Iranians are adopting. Secondly, and I think that more crucially, what we can see that the Iranians have been able to strike all these countries. Question is, how much damage have they actually been able to cause? Yes, they've caused some damage to this entire image that the Americans had built, that if you were an American ally, you were protected, nobody could harm you, nobody could touch you, the Americans had your back. I think that image has certainly gotten dented. Secondly, it has shown up many of these Arab countries, that all the investments that they have made in really fancy defense equipment, where is it? Where is it when they need it the most, when they are under attack? Third, can they hit back? Do they have the stomach for a fight against a country like Iran? And if all of that was to come together, then of course you are looking at a very, very, a much, much deeper crisis than we already faced.
Okay.
But the important Kansha is, how much damage have you been able to cause? Are you able to cause unacceptable damage in all these countries that there is a huge clamor in them to stop this conflict? Or is it...
I'm running short of time. Let me quickly take this forward. When you're talking about the damage done, Vlada Galan, could you weigh in on the damage, especially when there's clear-cut targeting of the busiest airports in the world right now? What is the kind of damage?
Well, I'm currently sitting in Dubai,
In fact,
United
Danda,
Arab.
before you make that point, we have to quickly take this piece of breaking news. We'll come back to you on that one. Azerbaijan's foreign ministry has said that it has summoned Iran's ambassador after this Iranian drone has attacked the airport, the Arazi airport at Nakhchivan. According to the officials, one Iranian drone struck the airport terminal. Akanksha was just showing you those horrifying visuals, while another one hit a school in the village of Shurabad. Two people are reportedly injured in that strike. So one which possibly has hit a passenger terminal at the Razi airport in Nakhchivan in Azerbaijan. The other one, a school. Sushant, Sareen, would you like to weigh in there? Because this is going to come with a lot of human cost. And this is not even Israel that we're talking about. This is Azerbaijan, Iran striking the Gulf nations, and how they're looking at infrastructure which has people around. A school also has been reported to have been taken down in this particular strike.
Azerbaijan has been a problem for Iran for many, many years, in part because Azerbaijan and Israel have very close relations. The Azeris supply bulk of Iranian petroleum supplies. So there is this beef that the Iranians have against Azerbaijan. And in that entire Azerbaijan versus Armenia conflict, the Iranians were on the side of Armenia, while Israelis were on the side of Azerbaijan. So there is that beef which is going on, and perhaps this is one of the reasons why Azerbaijan has been targeted. Also, I think there is a certain amount of concern in Iran, which has a fairly large Azeri population. In fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, even the Ayatollah Khamenei was either part Azeri or completely Azeri. He was not a Persian in that sense.
Okay.
So there is that old problem with Azerbaijan, and one of the reasons Azerbaijan is being targeted is maybe this is the Iranian way of telling them, don't jump into the fray, otherwise, they'll be held to
But
pay.
we'd have to see the developments now that the Iranian ambassador in Azerbaijan has been summoned by the foreign ministry there. Akanksha has more.
We're getting in breaking inputs. In fact, Azerbaijan's foreign ministry has summoned its Iranian ambassador. So quickly you can see the kind of domino effect that this entire attack on the airport in Azerbaijan, especially in Baku, has taken. Let me quickly take that forward with Ayushman, who will share the details with us. The summoning of the Iranian ambassador in a country which was never really at loggerheads with Iran.
Absolutely. And at the same time, the ambit of the entire war zone is only expanding. And this is what we were discussing with Greha earlier as well, Akanksha, the fact that Iran has the capacity to create these drones which cause maximum damage. And they have a very high range, and they have now been used to attack Azerbaijan to create more pressure on the United States as well as Israel, given the fact that Azerbaijan is also an oil producer. So the shock that's going into the energy markets seems to be the aim of Iran, with more drones being deployed. We're getting more details when it comes to Iran's drone program. We were discussing earlier as well how the US and the Israeli forces are destroying their jets, they're destroying their ballistic missiles, but this drone capacity that Iran has to send chaos through the energy markets is immense, because Iran's drone production capacity is around 10,000 per month. These are low cost and heavy production based drones which are being used across the region, and now Azerbaijan, the latest victim.
In fact, according to official confirmation, there were two missiles that have struck. One is, of course, at one of the terminals at the airport. The other is in a village near a school. And in fact, there are reported injuries as well. Going to quickly toss back to Griha to take it forward with our esteemed guests.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Akanksha. Vlada, I'd like you to weigh in at this point that Sushant was making earlier. The strained ties between Azerbaijan and Iran are, in fact, it's an old story. We do know the pro-Western and the Israeli allied stance of Azerbaijan. Do you think that's why it is now feeling the pinch, taking the brunt, in fact, taking a hit quite literally when it is about these drone strikes?
Well, at the end of the day, Iran is backed into a corner. And you see that the Iranian regime is capitulating, and you saw the statement by the foreign minister. What's happening now is they want to cause maximal damage. And Azerbaijan falls right into that list of countries that has a very serious, close strategic relationship with the state of Israel. In fact, I think it is one of the closest partnerships across various sectors in the entire Muslim world.
Vlada, when you say the Iranian regime seems to be capitulating, we are told you are stuck in Dubai. You've not been able to reach the Raisina dialogue, which you were supposed to be a part of in the national capital here in New Delhi. The kind of onslaught that's coming in from Iran that is going into the Gulf countries is continuing. And this one, particularly at the airport there in Azerbaijan, really tells how expansive this entire onslaught has really become. So even if they will give in, they are not ready to, in fact, throw in the towel yet. And this is what these stories are telling us.
Well, what they're doing is launching the most damage as fast as possible that they can. And I am here in Dubai. I was supposed to be a speaker tonight at the Raisina Dialogues and couldn't make it on a flight to India. The only flights leaving from Dubai are repatriation flights. However, the Dubai airport is opening this evening. The strikes that have come into the UAE, including Abu Dhabi and Dubai, have significantly diminished, meaning that they are slowly running out of missiles and drones to send across the region. The vaster the conflict, the faster that they run out of supplies. And that's exactly what's happening, which is why I think you had the statement that went out from the foreign minister today. And that we're going to see those strikes diminishing over the next 4 to 6 days, in my opinion. And you're already seeing those numbers greatly diminished. And so at the end of the day, there's only so long and that they can continue this conflict. The United States and Israel has issued strategic airstrikes on their. The more they launch, the more they expose those launch sites, which many of them are mobile, and those launch sites are getting taken out pretty actively. I think at this point, they're backed into a corner. You saw the Israeli airstrike with over 80 Iranian government regime officials that were taken out in one strike by Israel. And that has, significantly infuriated the regime, and they're going to continue doing as much damage as they possibly can before this is all over.
All right, Yara, stay with us. Sushant, stay with us, getting in some more breaking inputs. In fact, there's a file photo of the second Iranian warship moving towards Sri Lanka's waters. a second Iranian warship. This is reportedly IRINS Bushehr, carrying more than 100 crew, is heading towards Sri Lanka's territorial waters, the same area where, remember, the US submarine destroyed an Iranian frigate yesterday. Al Jazeera is in fact reporting Sri Lanka's media minister Nalinda Jayatissa has said the warship, reported to be carrying more than 100 crew, is just outside Sri Lankan waters. Now, would Sri Lanka want to get directly involved is the big key critical question over here. As we said, that because it's now taking the shape of a maritime conflict, there are other countries inadvertently getting roped in. We've seen how Sri Lanka actually had to jump into the rescue once that warship yesterday was, in fact, Dana was torpedoed by the US submarine. What else can you tell us, Ayushman?
Yeah, and we're getting reports that this is not a civilian ship. This is another warship that has now entered Sri Lankan waters, and it's fair game for the US forces who also have presence, submarine presence as well as frigate presence in the Indian Ocean, to target these ships, because Pete Hegseth has said that their entire aim is to cripple their naval forces, and these are Iranian warships that we are seeing on our screens in Sri Lankan waters. Now, the statement coming in from Sri Lanka, because there was speculation coming in that was Sri Lanka in the know when it comes to the movement of these Iranian naval vessels. The statement coming in from Sri Lanka's cabinet spokesperson is that the country is trying to safeguard the lives of those on that Iranian ship off their coast. So Sri Lanka playing quite a dangerous game when it comes to entering into this entire theatre of war, given the fact that the top opposition MPs inside Sri Lanka have said that they don't want anything to do with this conflict. But the movement of a second Iranian naval vessel in our backyard, Akanksha, it also rings alarm bells, not just for Sri Lanka, which is playing footsie with this entire conflict, but raises alarm for the entire defense and intelligence infrastructure here in India.
In fact, thank you for sharing all of those inputs. Let's quickly toss back to Griha over there.
Right, Akanksha, thank you so much for that. We have a very important guest now joining us on the broadcast. Captain Ashish Kumar from Bihar now joins us. He is one of the persons in fact, one of the kin of one of the sailors who's been killed in an attack on an oil tanker Skylight in the Gulf of Oman. So, Captain Ashish Kumar, बहुत शुक्रिया हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए. आपके जो रिश्तेदार थे, जो स्काईलाइट पे थे, जो वेसल जिसको अटैक किया था इरानियन मिसाइल्स ने वहाँ पे स्ट्रेट ऑफ हॉर्मूज में, कोई भी जानकारी गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से, क्योंकि ये ओमानियन वेसल था, किस तरह से आपको ये जानकारी मिली है अब जाके, क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया भी ये फिगर्स रिलीज कर रही है कि अनफॉर्चुनेटली 2 सेलर्स जो इंडियन सेलर्स हैं उनकी जान जा चुकी है.
फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल मैम, आप लोगों को थैंक यू, आप लोगों को मीडिया ने हमें रीच किया इस न्यूज़ के लिए. सेकेंडली, हमें संडे के दिन न्यूज़ जैसे फ्लैश हो रहा था, वैसे हमें न्यूज़ फ्लैश में दिखा कि ओमान, गल्फ ऑफ ओमान में जो वेसल्स है वहाँ पे अटैक हो रहे हैं और बहुत सारे वेसल्स पे अटैक हुए हैं. हमें कोई कंफर्मेशन नहीं था कि जिसमें मेरे भैया एज अ कैप्टन आशीष कुमार जी सर्विंग कर रहे थे, उस भी वेसल पे अटैक हुआ है. बट हमने नेट पे काफ़ी सर्च किया, काफ़ी इंटरनेट वगैरह सर्चिंग की है, न्यूज़ वगैरह पे काफ़ी देखे हुए, बट कोई कंफर्मेशन नहीं आ रहा था. बाय इवनिंग ऑन संडे स्काईलाइट की तरफ से एक स्पोक्स पर्सन ने हमें बताया कि जिस पे कैप्टन आशीष कुमार थे स्काईलाइट पे, उसी पे अटैक हुआ है. और फिर उसके बाद जैसे हमें ये न्यूज़ मिला, फिर हमने डायरेक्टली रीच आउट किया इंडियन एम्बेसी को, और ओमान में भी हमने रीच किया थ्रू द ईमेल्स एंड ऑल द वेरियस चैनल्स. आफ्टर दैट मैम, हमें ये कंफर्मेशन हो ही नहीं रहा था कि उसी शिप पे है, और उसके बाद से मैम सारे क्रू मेंबर्स का रेस्क्यू हो रहा था, कुछ हो रहा था, कोई इन्फॉर्मेशन क्लियर नहीं आ पा रही थी.
जी शुभम जी, बहुत ही अनफॉर्चुनेट डेवलपमेंट्स हैं, आप सही बात कर रहे हैं. और ये जो अटैक हुआ है ओमानियन वेसल पे, ये सबसे पहला अटैक था स्ट्रेट ऑफ हॉर्मूज में जो रिपोर्ट किया गया. अनफॉर्चुनेट बहुत ज़्यादा है कि आपके भाई उस वेसल पे थे, कैप्टन आशीष कुमार. हम उनकी तस्वीरें भी अभी साझा कर रहे हैं अपने व्यूअर्स के साथ. लेकिन अब जाके जितने भी सी फेयरर्स हैं, जो भी सेलर्स इंडियन वेसल्स पे वहाँ पे स्ट्रैंडेड हैं स्ट्रेट ऑफ हॉर्मूज में, वो सब दरख्वास्त कर रहे हैं गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया से कि किसी तरह से उनको वापस भारत लेके, हिंदुस्तान लेके आया जाए. उसके बारे में आप क्या कहेंगे?
मैम सबसे पहले तो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया और मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स इस चीज़ में काफ़ी इस चीज़ को फायर ऑफ द लाइट देखना चाहिए, क्योंकि ये सिचुएशन एक मेरी ही फैमिली के लिए नहीं, इंडिया के सारी फैमिली के लिए है, जिसके फैमिली मेम्बर्स वहाँ पे फंसे हैं, जो सेलर्स है, जो सी फेयर्स है, जो अदर एक्टिविटी में वर्किंग है वहाँ पे। तो इस पे गवर्नमेंट को और मोदी जी को स्पेशली इस चीज़ का देखना चाहिए। सेकेंडली मैम, मैं ये कंफर्म करता हूँ कि अभी तक कोई ऐसा ऑफिशियल नहीं है, डीजी शिपिंग की तरफ से हमें ये कंफर्मेशन मिला है कि मास्टर के कैबिन से हमें स्केलेटन मिला है, बट वो भी अभी कंफर्म नहीं है कि वो स्केलेटन कैप्टन आशीष का ही है या किसी और।
जी शुभम, हम जान सकते हैं बहुत ही ज़्यादा दुखद समय है और अभी तक आप बहुत सारे सवालों के जवाब चाह रहे होंगे, जिस तरह की बातें आप बता रहे हैं, क्योंकि एक अटैक हुआ है और कितना ही मैसिव अटैक होगा, तो स्केलेटल रिमेन्स की बात कर रही है सरकार और जो वहाँ पे अथॉरिटीज़ हैं वो आपसे। इसके बारे में सुनना ही बहुत तकलीफ दे है, लेकिन क्या बताते थे कैप्टन आशीष कुमार अपनी लाइफ के बारे में, किस तरह से वो ट्रैवल होता था स्ट्रेट ऑफ हॉर्मूज से, कितने दिन लगते थे, उसके बारे में अगर कुछ आप बताना चाहें हमें तो।
नो मैम, उसके बारे में तो मतलब भैया से उतना इंटरेक्शन नहीं होता था, क्योंकि वो ज़्यादा वर्किंग पे रहता था और उसका टाइप शिफ्ट वगैरह थोड़ा डिफरेंट था, तो काफ़ी कम ही मेरा और भैया का कम्युनिकेशन हो पाता था।
जी।
बाकी फैमिली मेम्बर से होता था, तो फैमिली मैटर्स पे ज़्यादा बात होता था, वर्किंग का थोड़ा कम ही बात होता था।
कितने टाइम से वो थे जुड़े हुए स्काईलाइट के साथ?
मैम स्काईलाइट पे तो वो अभी जनवरी में गए थे।
और उसके पहले यहाँ हिंदुस्तान में ही काम कर रहे थे या फिर किसी और
No,
वेसल के
ma'am.
साथ एसोसिएटेड थे?
किसी और वेसल के साथ मैम वर्किंग था, मोर देन 16 इयर्स का उसका एक्सपीरियंस था सी फेयर्स में।
जी शुभम जी, बहुत शुक्रिया आपका हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए। माफ़ी चाहूँगी, इतना कुछ हो गया है, लेकिन ये डेवलपमेंट्स ही है। जी जी ज़रूर बताइए।
मैम एक रिक्वेस्ट है गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया से, जयशंकर सर से, मोदी जी से, जैसे मोदी जी सबके लिए करते हैं वैसे मेरे भाई के लिए भी करें, और मेरे भाई के जगह सारे जो इंडियन फंसे हैं उनके लिए करें, और प्लीज़ इस मैटर को हमें कंफर्म करें, क्लियर करें क्या है, क्या सच्चाई है, कितने दिन में हमें इस चीज़ की कंफर्मेशन मिलेगा मेरे भाई के लिए।
जी शुभम, हम आपके ज़रिए गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया से ये रिक्वेस्ट ज़रूर आपकी सामने रखेंगे, बिकॉज वी डू अंडरस्टैंड दैट अ लॉट ऑफ फैमिलीज आर अनश्योर बिकॉज of the seafarers, Indian seafarers who are right now struck in the Strait of Hormuz because of the impasse that continues, because of the blockage of the Strait of Hormuz that continues. We are right now heading into some breaking news on the broadcast. Shubham ji, बहुत शुक्रिया आपके साथ बातें करने के लिए. We in fact have this piece of breaking news.
Massive destruction, visuals of massive destruction that's occurred after the US-Israeli strike that took place at a stadium in Tehran, and aftermath following overnight strikes that have also taken place in Beirut. This is in fact being brought to us. If you can see, this seems like a midnight strike that actually is going on to also indicate the kind of destruction that has taken place. This location is in Tehran. The place has been completely reduced to a rubble, what seems like in fact a densely populated residential locality in Tehran. These were of course conducted by the Israeli strikes overnight, and at the same time what we can tell you over here is that this is a location in the suburbs of Beirut. The entire residential locality has been reduced to a heap of rubble, as you can see over here. This was a post-midnight strike. The rescue operations are on. The casualties are massive. The death toll also is increasing. As you can see, the complete front facades of the buildings have been razed. These are rescue workers who are now trying to dig out the dead out of the rubble, but these are post-midnight strikes that were conducted by Israel, and of course we know that they have targeted Beirut's suburbs over here. Important to highlight why Beirut currently is also being targeted. We know that at the moment Hezbollah is very much located in Lebanon, and so this is why Lebanon also continues to bear the brunt of this. Let me quickly go across to Sushant and Yada, who continue to stay with us. Sushant, do you think that these strikes will be able to ensure the end of Hezbollah at the moment? Because this is one mess that the world has been dealing with for decades, and yet there seems to be no end to it.
Akansha, unfortunately, I don't think so, because look, Hezbollah has been severely degraded anyways, as have most other terrorist organizations. But these organizations, given the kind of ideology they espouse, the kind of millenarian mindset they have, they do regenerate in one form or another, regardless of whether next time they'll be looking to Iran for support or somebody else. This problem is likely to persist, but it becomes a lot more manageable than what it used to be. I, however, think that, earlier we were discussing this and we were told that Iran is all set to capitulate because their missile and their other arsenal is being severely degraded and is about to go out of the equation. That might well happen. I don't know how quickly, but let us assume it happens tomorrow. What after that? How do you ensure regime change? Are you going to bomb the entire Iran into rubble? How does even that ensure regime change? In the last 2.5 years of bombing Gaza, you still haven't gotten rid of Hamas in that area.
True.
Somebody still has to go in out there, take control, disarm Hamas. And we are talking about just a small strip of land called Gaza. If you now extrapolate from there to Iran, where you have an entrenched and reasonably popular, at least they have a 20, 30, 40% support base, a regime out there, how do you then replace it? How do you bring in
You've
people?
hit a very key critical point. Yada, mind weighing in on that aspect, that will a regime change be able to ensure the end of Hamas or even Hezbollah and the Houthis?
The day, what you need is a transitional government, and the United States is also putting boots on the ground, because it's very clear that you cannot win this with aerial strikes alone. This is why Donald Trump has announced that they are putting boots on the ground in Iran. They need those boots on the ground to continue to demilitarize large aspects of that regime and radical fragments that are still left. Having a minority, that may support this regime, in the figure of 20%, can be manageable if they have the right transitional government in place. And of course, new leadership is going to have to go in place at some point. The question is, who's going to be the head of that transitional government? Is it going to be Reza, the prince from Iran? Is it going to be someone else? The truth is, Reza is an incredible and motivational figure, and I think it'd be wonderful to see him in that role, but he doesn't have the ruling experience for a transition. So there's definitely going to be a council of some sort that needs to be put in place. There's many positions to fill, but the Iranian people, the majority of them, I believe the last number I saw was close to 70%, certainly are in support of a completely new government. But that is why the United States has had to put boots on the ground, because there's no way to finish this and finish this in a short period of time without boots on the ground.
But
There's just some.
More than United States, let's talk about Israel. We already know that Hezbollah, particularly Lebanon, and the kind of pounding that Lebanon is right now receiving on part of Israel is because it forms one line of defense for Iran, and vice versa. If Iran goes on to attack Israel, it gives that extra heft to Iran, and that's why Israelis are going after Beirut and the Hezbollah infra particularly. But where does it leave the people of Lebanon? Are they going to consolidate when it is about this moment, or we will see a squandering like the one we saw way back in 2006?
Look, in Lebanon, Hezbollah has always been a problem, and it's become part of the system in some ways. We've heard the Lebanese authorities say that they are going to clamp down on the Hezbollah, but they haven't been able to do it. This is despite the fact that Hezbollah has been seriously degraded over the last 1-2 years. Secondly, let me just come, frankly, and I'm not trying to be facetious, but I think I have a better chance to rule Iran and I'll be more acceptable than Raza Pahlavi. I don't know where they have suddenly come up with Raza Pahlavi. He's a non-entity. He's a fly-by-night operator of the kind they had in Iraq, Ahmad Shalabi, who nobody knew, but he had somehow managed to convince the American administration that he is going to be the go-to guy as far as Iraq is concerned. And that entire venture completely collapsed. The point is that, to say that we will put boots on the ground, how many boots on the ground are you going to put in a country like Iran? How many? It's a huge country. It's far bigger than what Iraq was. The terrain is very different. The ideology of the people is very different. The way they've been brought up is very different. How many people are you going to put in? How long are you going to stay out there? Donald Trump has also said that he's not interested in endless wars. Who all are you going to take in? Are you going to take in the Arabs into Iranian country? And if you take Arabs out there, do you understand the history of that place? The conflict between the Arabs and the Iranians, or between the Shias and the Sunnis?
Right, absolutely. An important point that Shashank Sareen is making, and after all, if we take a look at his predecessor, and we're talking about Reza Pahlavi, Shah of Iran did no good to Iran either. But we do have some piece of breaking news that we have to put out. Akanksha.
Massive explosions, in fact, being reported in Doha yet again, as we were reporting earlier as well. We shared those details with you. The Qatari capital actually continues to bear the brunt as fresh explosions have been heard. Is this a result of a barrage of missiles? We are yet to ascertain that, but what we can tell you is Doha is back on the target. In fact, CNN gets you the latest on the ground situation from there. All right, we are coming to you, of course, from our Middle East programming headquarters here in the Gulf, in Abu Dhabi, in the UAE. I'm Becky Anderson, and I want to stay in the Gulf. I've just got a statement just released from Qatar confirming their air defense systems. They're intercepting a missile attack. This is day 6, of course, March the 5th. It is 12:30 in the afternoon there in Qatar. Let's bring in CNN senior producer Bijan Hosseini joining us live. Bish, what can you tell us at this point?
Hey, Becky. Yeah, we've just changed locations. We're actually underneath in a safe place now, but we've been experiencing just maybe 2 minutes ago another wave, the 4th wave that we've experienced in quick succession. These sounding very loud. We've seen some of the smoke trails of these interceptions taking place right above us. We're in central West Bay right now. At least from our perspective, the team, we've been live in this location every day for 6 days. These are by far the loudest and longest series of interceptions we've experienced. That has been happening on and off every 2 minutes. As you said, the Ministry of Defense just came out with that statement 5 minutes ago saying that they are under a missile attack. We believe most of these have been intercepted. We can see the smoke trails from the interceptions that take place above us. But I wanted to, it's worth mentioning that last night we got an alert from the Ministry of Interior. They were asking and telling residents to evacuate near the U.S. Embassy. We had a CNN staff member that got a knock on their door at 3 o'clock in the morning from police asking them to evacuate their home. They are only 4 kilometers away from the U.S. Embassy. They were able to return to their home after about 2 hours. The police saying that they obviously were outside that perimeter that police have set up. And that was just as a safety precaution. As of last night, we didn't hear or see any interceptions taking place near that embassy, neither the people near the embassy. But clearly now an onslaught of attacks coming from Iran.
It's important to point out that you are seeing an uptick there. I mean, that's really significant. And if these are missiles, that is really significant because, of course, we heard from the Pentagon yesterday that the throttling up in these US-Israel strikes are on Iranian missile systems, launchers, stockpiles. Those are being very much directed at this region of the Gulf. We have seen less ballistic missile or cruise missiles incoming here to Abu Dhabi, Bijan, but overnight
helicopters and fighter jets taking out drone attacks. So we continue to see these swarming drones. The sense was that we were seeing less ballistic missiles, certainly, on this region. But if we are right to suggest, and it's certainly what this statement that I've just received from Doha suggests, that these are missile attacks, and that is, you know, clearly worrying that the Iranians still have the capability to do that. Bijan is in Doha.
All right, we continue to talk about these strikes, not just on Doha, but also Azerbaijan. These reports coming in, and we are tracking those as we go into a very short break.
Complete devastation, a direct hit by a missile.
Picture is that the US is not able to defend.
Of a drone, a massive, the number of ballistic missiles.
Where is it that Iran is actually placing its resources right now?
Tabriz, Sanandaj, Kermanshah. And this is now what they are doing since yesterday. They are conducting more or less an organized.
This is our network phone. We've got some more images here. We've got another image of the US Navy's 5th Fleet headquarters in Manama Bar.
Over Oman, Saudi Arabia, and this way to Europe.
Iran now has been completely, in some ways, dominated.
With ballistic missile attack. It means the Kuwaiti air defense was under big strain.
Man who, along with his co-authors, meticulously tracked every moment, every sortie, every signal in the skies. Tom Cooper uncovers the truth behind the Rafale bogey, what happened in that first initial hour and who owned it, the mysterious Kirana Hills, the nuclear bluff, and from being spooked, smoked and smashed, the entire battle behind the headlines is finally revealed. What actually happened with Pakistan in Operation Sindoor. In his revelatory new book, aviation analyst and also military historian Tom Cooper lays bare the untold events within Operation Sindoor. And it's called the 88 Hours War, the India-Pakistan War of May 2025. I've got the book here. We've got a copy. It's out in Bharat also. It was released in the UK internationally about 2 months ago. We've got the book. Let's first ask Tom Cooper. This must feel very, very good.
Yes, absolutely. It was a piece of very tough work, weeks-long research and digging to the social media in particular, with help of not only 3 fantastic researchers who are professionals and doing this for years already, but also 2 additional gentlemen from India who have helped with their own research.
So there's Ravi Rikhe, Sanjay Badri Maharaj, and also Mangesh Sawant, so credit to them too. But Tom Cooper, you led this conversation. Let me first ask you this. Yes. Who won this war?
Well, this is India, this is clear. This is beyond any kind of doubt that it was India. As I said already back then in May, June last year, a clear-cut victory for India, and one of very few wars of the last 30, 40, 50 years where there is such a clear outcome like in this one.
Okay, let's recreate the first few hours, viewers. I'm just going to quickly take you through what happened, and it's chronicled in this book. This is all from the book excerpt. So first up, the India strike on Pakistan, as the idea, the information that was already given. We'll ask Tom to express it and explain to us in detail. The IAF strike window was between 1:04 to 1:24 a.m. This was the strike window, and these were the areas that had been struck, the terror hubs, the terror notion. The weapons were fired over Pakistani airspace. The PAF's response was delayed by minutes, and the first reaction was at 00:36 Pakistan Standard Time. So this was the first reaction at 00:36 Pakistan Standard Time. And also Rawalpindi, one SAM site, there was that was fired. Missiles were fired.
Missiles, yes.
Yeah, and missiles were fired from the Noor Khan Air Base also, and also there was the HQ-9 missiles that turned towards Akhrur axis, and targets were hit in Murid Ke area. no IAF aircraft was hit by the surface-to-air missile.
It is
Sam,
one of the
that's
most
what you're
amazing. It
Yeah.
is one of the most amazing thing about this. When one goes through the reports by Pakistani people, civilians like us, reporting what is going on in all these areas. They report no movement by Pakistani aircraft. They report no movement by Pakistani aircraft, even at air bases where it is known that Pakistan Air Force is holding its fighters on quick reaction alert. Nothing. They report merely firings of 2 SAMs from one base and 3 from Nurkan. So, and that at the time,
yeah,
the Indian Air Force strike must have been in full gear.
Welcome back. CNN News 18 is the only channel which continues to bring you ground reports from Israel. In fact, 2 power centers in Israel. We have Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. Ground reports awaiting your attention.
मैं इस वक्त टेल अवीव में हूँ। करीब 3 बजे है रात के। अभी 2:30 बजे भी सायरन बजी थी। आप सुनिए। तो आप सुन सकते हैं लोग जो है शेल्टर की तरफ भाग रहे हैं। रात के 3 बजे है करीब इस वक्त टेल अवीव में और सायरन्स लगातार बज रही हैं। उसका मतलब है कि ईरान की तरफ से मिसाइल अटैक लॉन्च किया गया है और अब देखना होगा कि क्या उस मिसाइल अटैक को इंटरसेप्ट किया जाएगा या वो मिसाइल्स या रॉकेट्स जो हैं ईरान के वो कहीं पे हिट करेंगे। अभी थोड़ी देर पहले जो है यहाँ पे एक मिसाइल अटैक लॉन्च किया गया था। ये जो आप देख रहे हैं चांद के साथ में थोड़ा सा स्मोक देख रहे हैं और ये लाइट जैसी देख रहे हैं स्काई में, ये उसी इंटरसेप्शन के बाद यहाँ पे देखने को मिल रहा है। यानी इसी आसमान में जो है अभी थोड़ी देर पहले मिसाइल्स को इंटरसेप्ट किया गया। ये धुआं आगे बढ़ रहा है, ये आसमान में है। ये टेल अवीव की स्काइज हैं और लगातार ये स्काइज जो हैं ये यहाँ पे बयां कर रही हैं यहाँ की कहानी। एक के बाद एक मिसाइल अटैक लॉन्च किए जा। आप सुन सकते हैं जोरदार धमाका हुआ, जोरदार धमाका हुआ। यहीं कहीं पे इंटरसेप्ट हुआ है। अभी हो सकता है कि आसमान में कुछ दिखे। तो अभी होम फ्रंट कमांड की तरफ से कहा गया है कि खतरा टल चुका है क्योंकि मिसाइल्स जो हैं वो इंटरसेप्ट किए गए हैं और मैं दिखाने की कोशिश करूंगा कि अब लोग जो हैं वो शेल्टर से बाहर आ रहे हैं जहां पे वो छुपे थे। तो ये आप देख सकते हैं ये लोग जो हैं अब बाहर आ रहे हैं शेल्टर से। ये शेल्टर्स में थे क्योंकि सायरन्स बजी थी पूरे टेल अवीव में और उसके बाद लोग सेफ शेल्टर की तरफ जा रहे थे। अब वो वहाँ से बाहर आ रहे हैं। ये यहाँ पे जगह जगह पे शेल्टर बनाए गए हैं। जितने भी होटल्स हैं बेसमेंट में भी बॉम्ब शेल्टर्स हैं और बाकी जो लेवल्स होती हैं होटल की हर लेवल पे बॉम्ब शेल्टर है। तो ये सिलसिला लगातार यहाँ पर इसराइल में जारी है। बार बार सायरन बजती हैं, बार बार आसमान में धमाके होते हैं। कई मिसाइल्स जो हैं वो हिट कर गए हैं, बिल्डिंग्स को नुकसान पहुंचा है। अभी तक जो यहाँ ऑफिशियल फिगर्स हैं 12 लोगों की अभी तक मौत हुई है, कई लोग ज़ख्मी हुए हैं, प्रॉपर्टी को डैमेज हुआ है और ये सिलसिला अभी रुकता हुआ नज़र नहीं आ रहा है। इसराइल में अभी सायरन्स बज रही हैं, उसका मतलब है कि ईरान से मिसाइल लॉन्च किए गए हैं। आप सुन सकते हैं आवाज़। तो मैं इस वक्त टेल अवीव में हूं और हर साइड से सायरन्स बज रही हैं और लोग अंदर शेल्टर की तरफ जा रहे हैं और मैं भी अब शेल्टर की तरफ जाने की कोशिश करूंगा क्योंकि ऐसा लगता है कि अभी भी यहाँ पे जो है ये सिलसिला नहीं रुक रहा है। लगातार कोशिश की जा रही है ईरान की तरफ से इसराइल को टारगेट करने की। एक के बाद एक जो है मिसाइल्स और रॉकेट्स फेंके जा रहे हैं। जेरूसलम में भी कई आज हमले किए गए, हालांकि काफ़ी सारे मिसाइल जो हैं वो इंटरसेप्ट किए जाते हैं एयर डिफेंस सिस्टम के ज़रिए जो हवा में ही नाकारा हो जाते हैं, लेकिन काफ़ी सारे जो हैं वो हिट कर रहे हैं टारगेट को। और सुन सकते हैं आप तो यहाँ आप नहीं देखेंगे लोगों की मूवमेंट क्योंकि लोग जो हैं अंदर जा रहे हैं शेल्टर की तरफ। तो हम भी कोशिश करेंगे आगे
अंदर शेल्टर की तरफ जाने की।
All right, we are outside the newsroom. With me is my colleague Ayushman. He has got some more updates. We're constantly bringing you those updates from two of our reporters in fact, the war zone that is in Israel. That report was by Rifat from Tel Aviv. Ayushman has more. Ayushman, what are you?
We're getting more updates about how we've been talking about the ambit of this entire conflict is only expanding. Now we saw those Iranian drones target the UK base in Cyprus, and now that alarm has spread across Europe, where now Italy is sending naval assets to Cyprus. One of the key strategic bases for the European powers is Cyprus. And now the fact that Iran's drones, the Shahid drones that we've been seeing bombard the energy infrastructure as well as the bases across the entire theater of war, and now hitting countries like Azerbaijan, they already hit Cyprus, and now this has spread alarm across Europe as well, which is scrambling its own defense assets to protect those bases as well as the crucial energy infrastructure. So it seems that while the ambit is slowly growing, the alarm is now global.
Since you mentioned Cyprus, and it has been the talk of the town that will this bring UK into the war? And we already saw that UK warship pretty much in the Mediterranean waters since yesterday. Now Italy's given a nod. Are we seeing this expand into something beyond just West Asia?
Absolutely. It's because of the fact that Iran, even though its jets are being depleted, even though its missiles are being depleted, as I was pointing out, the reports suggest Iran can produce these mini drones, the Shahid drones. 10,000 drones can be produced in a single month. So if those, and we've seen how those Shahid drones have crippled several bases, they've crippled the energy infrastructure, they've sent alarm across the defense and energy circles. So if the range of these drones from Iran can go to Azerbaijan, they can hit pretty much any city across that entire region. So military bases, the Western military bases and their strategic assets in the region, the bullseye is right on them from Iran, because Iran can just mount these drones on a truck, take it to the edge of the border and launch it all the way to Azerbaijan and Cyprus. That capability is still with the Iranian forces.
Is that why did we see that, dialing of Zelensky? He, in fact, has put out that tweet as well. Ukraine has bore the brunt as far as the entire Russia-Ukraine war is concerned. Now, Washington dialing Ukraine, these developments for assisting on these very Shahid drones, that's something that we also must talk about, Aisha.
Absolutely, because Zelensky has used these drones against the Russian forces. And this is something that has been effective in Kiev's war effort against Russia. But now I think Ukraine's expertise is required when it comes to countering these drones coming in from Iran. But what more can Zelensky do? I mean, he himself knows how these drones operate. The United States, of course, knows how these drones operate. The fact is that these aren't that technologically advanced. These are easy to make. It's similar to how Hezbollah uses those homemade rockets that it launches into Israel on a daily basis. It's very easy to make these, and every home in pretty much in Lebanon has the facilities to make those rockets. How do you tackle this defense threat coming in from Iran, where something so effective can be so easily produced across that country?
Right, and Ayushman, we were just talking about how this is further expanding into something beyond West Asia. Right now, reports coming in that France is now going to be allowing US to use its bases. How big do you think this development is going to be?
I think while the European allies are trying to hold out from the entire conflict before getting in, because we heard Pedro Sanchez as well from Spain saying that they will not be dragged into a new war, it seems that slowly and steadily, as Iran is raising the cost of this conflict, attacking the energy markets, and remember there is a cost of living crisis in all these European countries, they are facing the pinch of these rising energy prices and this unpredictability in the commodities market, which is why slowly and steadily I feel all the European allies are going to be dragged into this entire conflict. While Iran aims that the continuous attacks that are coming in from its drone strikes will push these allies to put pressure on the United States, the opposite might happen, where these allies will now back the United States into putting more pressure on Iran.
Right. Right, Ayushmann, thank you so much. So this West Asian conflict is only expanding, and that is what would be a cause of concern for many of the nations who are watching. Ayushmann was just mentioning about how the energy infra seems to have been badly impacted, and because of which we see more and more countries really stepping in. We are constantly giving you every update that is there as far as this escalation really is concerned. But right now, we also are getting some breaking news. This is a mega exclusive that we are putting out for our viewers as we are learning that alleged ISIS commanders met with Pakistan President Mr. Zardari. We are talking about the Desh commander joining Pakistan's People's Party, and CNN News 18 has in fact got this exclusive information of the entire nexus that one is talking about when it is about the Pakistan president meeting with the commander there. My colleague Akanksha here in the studios with more of that information. Yes, Akanksha,
right.
do go
so,
ahead.
Griha, we can see that this is in fact exposing the overall ISI-Daesh nexus, and Shafiq Mengel's death squad in October last year was in fact responsible. Who's Shafiq Mengel? I also want to inform our viewers about him. He's collaborating with LET. You're also looking at his collaboration with JEM, other terror groups with full supervision of Pakistan, ISI and their own intelligence agencies. Shafiq Mengel has reportedly been tasked with overseeing covert operational framework that is going to consolidate the overall extremist activities of the Jaish, the ISIS, the LET, and all of them then will be brought together under a single umbrella. What will they be tasked with in Balochistan? For suppressing Baloch Liberation Army's activities, the nationalists as well. According to sources, Shafiq Mengel now has been awarded with a political cover in the province. That is something we all know is not new to the polity of Pakistan. He has also joined Pakistan People's Party, which as we all know is the leading party that has a government in the Balochistan province. He's in fact known as a tribal leader. He's responsible for arranging safe houses and training camps across the province. He's also recruiting operatives through religious seminaries and underground cells. So, Griha, these are the latest inputs that we are bringing to you, brought to us by investigations editor Manoj Gupta.
Right, absolutely a big development there that's coming in from the subcontinent as well. And on that note, we have to get into a very quick break. So we're going into that. News and updates continue on CNN News 18.
Super exclusive ground report by CNN News 18 Sanjay Suri from Tel Aviv. Rifat Abdullah, who's currently stationed in Jerusalem.
Well, here goes the siren again. A ballistic missile detected on its way here. Probably a good time to step into a shelter.
अभी जो यहाँ पे सायरन बजी है उसके बाद धमाके जोरदार हुए, या तो इंटरसेप्ट किया गया मिसाइल्स को जो लगातार ईरान की तरफ से अटैक किया जा रहा।
Man who along with his co-authors meticulously tracked every moment, every sortie, every signal in the skies. Tom Cooper uncovers the truth behind the Rafale bogey, what happened in that first initial hour and who owned it, the mysterious Kirana Hills, the nuclear bluff, and from being spooked, smoked and smashed, the entire battle behind the headlines is finally revealed. What actually happened with Pakistan in Operation Sindoor. In his revelatory new book, aviation analyst and also military historian Tom Cooper lays bare the untold events within Operation Sindoor. And it's called the 88 Hours War, the India-Pakistan War of May 2025. I've got the book here. We've got a copy. It's out in Bharat also. It was released in the UK internationally about 2 months ago. We've got the book. Let's first ask Tom Cooper. This must feel very, very good.
Yes, absolutely. It was a piece of very tough work, weeks-long research and digging through the social media in particular, with help of not only 3 fantastic researchers who are professionals and doing this for years already, but also 2 additional gentlemen from India who have helped with their own research.
So there's Ravi Rikhe, Sanjay Badri Maharaj, and also Mangesh Sawant, so credit to them too. But Tom Cooper, you led this conversation. Let me first ask you this.
Yes.
Who won this war?
Well, this is India, this is clear. This is beyond any kind of doubt that it was India. As I said already back then in May, June last year, a clear-cut victory for India, and one of very few wars of the last 30, 40, 50 years where there is such a clear outcome like in this one.
Okay, let's recreate the first few hours, viewers. I'm just going to quickly take you through what happened, and it's chronicled in this book. This is all from the book excerpt. So first up, the India strike on Pakistan, as the idea, the information that was already given. We'll ask Tom to express it and explain to us in detail. The IAF strike window was between 1:04 to 1:24 a.m. This was the strike window, and these were the areas that had been struck, the terror hubs, the terror notion. The weapons were fired over Pakistani airspace. The PAF's response was delayed by minutes, and the first reaction was at 00:36 Pakistan Standard Time. So this was the first reaction at 00:36 Pakistan Standard Time. And also Rawalpindi, one SAM site, there was that was fired. Missiles were fired.
Missiles, yes.
Yeah, and missiles were fired from the Nur Khan Air Base also, and also there was the HQ-9 missiles that turned towards Akhrur axis, and targets were hit in Muridke area. No IAF aircraft was hit by the surface-to-air missile.
It is
Sam,
one of the
that's what
most
you're
amazing. It
Yeah.
is one of the most amazing thing about this. And one goes through the reports by Pakistani people, civilians like us, reporting what is going on in all these areas. They report no movement by Pakistani aircraft. They report no movement by Pakistani aircraft, even at air bases where it is known that Pakistan Air Force is holding its fighters on quick reaction alert. Nothing. They report merely firings of 2 SAMs from one base and 3 from Nur Khan. So, and that at the time,
yeah,
the Indian Air Force strike must have been in full gear. That means the aircraft have already approached the border. They're climbing and releasing their weaponry before turning down to hide in the lower over the ground. That means Pakistani Air Force, by all of its claims.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. I'm Shivani Gupta. Let's begin with a quick check of the latest war headlines that we're tracking. Iran strikes Azerbaijan's Nakhchivan with drones. Baku says attacks launched from Iranian territory hits airport area and injures 2. Iranian ballistic missiles target Doha as drone swarms hit civilian areas across Qatar. The nation's air defenses scramble to bring down the barrage. Reports suggest a second Iranian vessel is now stranded near Sri Lanka's Panadura coast. Iran's embassy seeks emergency docking for food and water. Unverified reports say children on board. 37 Indian ships, 1,100 crew stuck near the Strait of Hormuz. 3 Indian seafarers already killed as West Asia conflict disrupts shipping in the Persian Gulf and Gulf of Oman. Vladimir Putin warns Russia could halt gas supplies to European Union markets, shift energy exports to more profitable buyers amidst the global energy shock. China sends special envoy to Middle East to mediate as Iran-Israel-US conflict escalates, urging protection of civilians, dialogue and stability. A high-stakes war in West Asia enters its 6th day, billions already spent and no clear end in sight. As casualties mount, global trade is disrupted by the closure of Strait of Hormuz. Iran has begun reaching out to neighboring countries, claiming it was compelled to act following the assassination of its supreme leader. The US has escalated its own campaign, deploying advanced weaponry, including F-35C fighter jets and waves of Tomahawk missiles in strikes that have severely weakened Iran's naval capabilities. Meanwhile, surging oil prices are stoking global economic anxiety, with India urgently exploring alternative energy routes to shield its economy. We're getting some more breaking updates now coming in. Consecutive explosions have been heard western Tehran near the Azadi Stadium. Let's go across to my colleague Akansha, who's also joining us with more on this. This is a stadium now, the Azadi Stadium in the middle of Tehran, that has also possibly come under the strikes, isn't it, Akansha? What more do we know?
Right. And this barrage, in fact, continues to particularly target Tehran, as we've seen that there are schools being targeted over there, even civilian locations, apart from the IRGC headquarters. So Tehran particularly is on the target as far as the IDF strikes are concerned. And Shivani, we must remember that the death toll in Iran has already crossed 1,000. The number of children is already crossing 200 as we speak, but Tehran particularly is now being brought down to a heap of rubble, and that particularly remains a concern for, of course, the Iranian regime at the moment. But more breaking inputs coming in. They are already indicating that Iran may perhaps now be willing to give up on its nuclear program. Is the United States going to even entertain that?
Back, Akansha, you can hold this. A short while back we heard this, but you know, this is now again bringing into question whether Iran was earlier willing to give it up or not, because they were saying, and some international experts were saying that yes, Iran had already indicated they'll give up their nuclear program. So why did America act? If they're giving this as a condition now, it means they weren't agreeing earlier.
So the counter to that coming in from Iran is that perhaps talks were never on the table for the United States and for Israel, because remember, first of all, Israel was not part of the talks, but secondly, US was. And the fact of the matter is that they have said that we had already indicated we will be cooperating with Israel, we will be cooperating with the United States. We had even in fact given assurances that the United States is not going to be targeted, neither will Israel. And yet they went ahead with that attack, which perhaps is placing the overall scope of negotiations in a very tricky terrain. Shivani, if negotiations are at all going to be on the
Well, Donald Trump has already said he's not going to negotiate anymore. So where does that take us? Where does that leave us? We'll wait and see. In all probability, America and Israel want any possibilities of an Iranian, resurgence to be completely condemned, and then they might negotiate with whoever is left. We've got more breaking updates coming in. All right, we're getting more updates from Sri Lanka now. Iranian ship has requested them for some urgent docking, and they are considering this request. Remember, this is a second Iranian ship which is close to the Sri Lankan coast after one frigate was already downed yesterday. So Sri Lanka has accepted that this request is under consideration with them. It is pending with them. This is going to be a bit of a hot potato, a catch-22 for the Sri Lankans, Akansha?
Absolutely, because we've seen how the US submarine actually torpedoed the other one, IRNIS Dana, and for which this is in fact a blatant violation of the Geneva Convention. They should have ensured that they rescue all who were there on that warship, whereas that submarine actually departed, leaving Sri Lanka to actually jump to the rescue of those 80 bodies that have in fact been rescued. And now with tensions escalating further, there is the same level of risk which is in fact now plaguing this second warship. What happens to this second warship? Will Sri Lanka be entertaining that request? Since we've been highlighting constantly that from the Strait of Hormuz, we are seeing the spillover of this conflict now to the IOR, which is the Indian Ocean region. Shivani.
Absolutely. Well, difficult decision making really as far as Sri Lanka is concerned. India is the biggest country as far as the Indian Ocean is concerned. So a lot of what happens here is going to affect India as well. And India might want a say finally in what happens as far as this situation is concerned. Maybe Sri Lanka might even take an opinion from India, because ultimately India is, the biggest nation as far as the Indian subcontinent is concerned, and might have more to consider on this. Let's also take you through some of these visuals that we've got. These are all satellite images that have been accessed via various sources. This is the Konarak Naval Base in Iran, and it is showing you the extent of the damage that has been caused by the Americans and the Israeli strikes. Remember, Donald Trump had already announced, I think more than 24 hours ago, that all of their naval capabilities, all of Iranian naval capabilities have been destroyed. They had about 11 ships, they have been destroyed. And then, of course, was this frigate in Indian waters as well. This is the Khorramabad missile complex. You can see the before and after that makes clear exactly what transpired. So the main structure possibly is this one to take notice of, but you can see these are the before pictures, and in the aftermath you can see that those structures are not as coherent as they were. There seems to be more rubble than anything else. Iranian Air Force headquarters, this also is showing some damage. These are multiple buildings, a huge complex, but it seems that there has been a strike, at least on some areas, possibly here as well. That's the before picture, and this is the one after. You can see this roof particularly, and this building particularly as well. There are clear marks of precision strikes, precision airstrikes, because they've just mounted some holes on the roof of the building and you can't see much other destruction. Similarly, this is the Garamdara missile base. You can see the before and after. In the after, you can clearly see holes on top of the building structure and also black soot, possibly because of fire and other instances. This is just going to give you an indication of the kind of precision strikes that Israel and America are doing. They're not targeting civilian areas. They're only targeting the missile bases and the air and the naval bases. Let's also go across to some more breaking updates now coming in. At least 6 people have been injured in Abu Dhabi because of debris that has fallen from intercepted drone strikes. All right, we're getting more breaking updates that have come in. 6 people have been injured because of the interceptions itself. So remember, these are very dangerous times for the public. This is happening in Abu Dhabi. 6 people injured, more injuries coming in as far as these very prosperous and forward-looking Gulf nations are concerned. This is not going to go down well.
It's interesting that you emphasize on forward-looking Gulf nations, and now they're bearing the brunt of this war, Shivani, because if you look at the last 24 hours, there's in fact been renewed attention now on all of those US allied countries in Middle East, which were bearing the brunt right in the beginning. So on day 1, day 2, day 3 of the conflict, we saw Abu Dhabi, we saw UAE, we saw Qatar. All of these 3 countries were bearing the brunt of it, and then there was a tapering of the tensions. But today, the news that we are bringing to you, as Shivani was just highlighting, 6 people, in fact, already being targeted over there in Abu Dhabi. Goes on to say that there's now a renewed escalation in these explosions, in the missile attacks targeting particularly UAE, where you are looking at Dubai and even Abu Dhabi. In the last, say, 48 hours, we had seen that the tensions were tapering down, particularly in Dubai and Abu Dhabi.
Yes, but even if there are low-cost drones that are incoming, you need very sophisticated systems to take them down. And even if the debris falls on any civilian areas, on a car, for example, can cause injuries and even deaths. As tensions escalate in West Asia, 37 Indian-flagged ships carrying over 1,000 seafarers are stranded currently across the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. These are, of course, on 2 sides of the Strait of Hormuz. That's because that strait shipping route has been shut. Nobody really wants to venture out there because there have been attacks on vessels, even though Iran has been flip-flopping on whether it is actively blockading or not. This has, of course, disrupted one of the world's most critical oil transit corridors. 2 Indians, remember, have already been killed in an attack on one oil tanker, Skylight, in the Gulf of Oman amidst these escalating tensions. The 2 have been identified as Captain Ashish Kumar from Bihar and crew member Dalip Singh from Rajasthan. Meanwhile, the Indian National Ship Owners Association has urged the government to help secure safe passages for these vessels, noting that some ships are waiting to load while others are already carrying cargo on both sides of the trade. And remember, these are predominantly oil tankers. They're as flammable as it gets. We're also getting some more breaking updates now coming in. Indian government sources are indicating that India is in a comfortable position with 25 days of crude oil reserves, 25 days of energy products also available. They also say they are in touch with all major suppliers of LPG, LNG that are in touch with OPEC. There is no worry of price rise. Importantly, that the government is assuring its citizens the price, they say, should stabilize from 82 to 85. The present situation will not have an impact on consumer price to begin with. Remember, it is the oil companies that decide when they want to increase the prices, when they want to decrease the prices. Often it is done by the oil companies themselves. This is not part of any other government action when it comes to consumer goods. So the government seemingly very, very confident, one, that the reserves will hold on, and secondly, that there will not be inflationary causes as far as this oil surge, price surge is concerned, because oil companies control the consumer price of these goods in India. We're also expecting, of course, that we might have a more detailed plan as far as the Indian government is concerned of what are the alternatives that they may be looking at. Even as all of this is playing out, we also have a situation where the question of Russian oil has become very important. You would remember how much pressure was put on Russia to not buy Russian energy and especially crude oil. What happens now? Because India has always said, even under enormous pressure from US in context of a deal or no deal, that India will prioritize whatever is the best available options for it. So if prices were to go up otherwise from the Gulf, if supply was to be cut off from the Gulf, would India then dare to venture into buying more Russian product? That remains to be a big question to be seen. All right, Indian Foreign Secretary has signed a condolence book at the Iranian embassy. This is Indian Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri who has signed a condolence book at the Iranian embassy, which means this would be officially India's first expression of regret, India's first expression of condolences on the killing and the assassination of Iran's former supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. These are those visuals also that are coming in on your screen. Remember, there are, of course, eulogies being given to the former Iranian supreme leader, also on Indian soil, but also on Iranian soil. My colleague Akansha is also joining.
This is big breaking news. This is the first time India has condoled the death of, the killing rather, of the Iranian Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Those visuals, in fact, coming in of Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri. He's signing that book where he is condoling the death, the killing of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Now, remember, this is extremely significant, not just according to the domestic current geopolitical climate as well. There were a lot of attacks coming in from the opposition in terms of why India, which has been a time-tested ally to Iran, we have civilizational ties with Tehran, we've in fact stood by Iran, and yet why was India maintaining a quiet stance? But now that should be in fact putting an end to all of those wagging tongues as you see those visuals.
No, but I want to understand from you, signing a condolence book at the Iranian embassy versus an official statement from the government. How is this to be seen? Is this seen as an official government statement as well? My colleague Siddhant is also joining us with more on this. Siddhant, what more can you tell us? This is the official signing of the condolence book at the Iranian embassy. Indian Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri there.
Well, yes, that's right, Shivani. So, very, very significant gesture being shown by the Indian side. In fact, just a short while back, Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri was at the Iranian embassy in New Delhi to sign the condolence book. Now, this today, in fact, the Deputy Foreign Minister of Iran is also in India. In fact, he will also be holding session tomorrow at the Raisina dialogue. Foreign Secretary also met Iranian envoy, expressed condolence on the behalf of the Indian government. This is what we have been told. So this is the second official communication between the two governments after the conflict. The first one was the conversation between EM S. Jaishankar and Foreign Minister Arakshi. And this is the second time when before the media cameras, Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri is meeting Iranian envoy in New Delhi, perhaps on the occasion of signing of the condolence book. So all eyes were on at Iran embassy since morning, whether somebody from the Indian government will be signing the book or not, given.
If you are to look at this, this is India walking that tightrope, isn't it? As far as standing with Iran is concerned as well, doing the diplomatic niceties, but also there was no statement from the Indian government to particularly condole or condemn Ali Khamenei's assassination. So how do you read into this before I go back to my colleague Akansha as well?
Well, many say that India has chosen its side, but also the fact is that that India has expressed concerns over the strikes being conducted in Iran. In fact, India has also spoken about sovereignty, violation of sovereignty. So if this line is being used in India's official statement, perhaps this line is for Iran. So to say this, that India has chosen sides, perhaps is not right. Also, a very last point, Shivani, before I toss back to you. Now, more than 1 crore Indians live in the Gulf countries. Their safety is also important for India.
Yes,
perhaps
absolutely.
this was the reason that Prime Minister Modi spoke to
most of these Gulf countries.
From those
no,
countries.
I understand that, but there is a diplomatic tightrope to be watched, if not sides to be chosen. Akansha also continues to be with us. Sanjay K. Verma, senior former diplomat, is with us. Lieutenant General K.J. Singh as well. Sanjay Verma, your thoughts on this? You're a former diplomat. You would understand this exactly. Can you put this into perspective for us? What does it mean signing a condolence book versus an official statement? Will this, whatever he's written, we'll try and see what he's written. We'll try and get those details. Would that count as the official position of the Indian government then?
Yes, it will be. And it's a visual which everyone is able to see. India expressing condolence through Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri on this occasion. So it's a head of state who was recognized by India has been killed, and therefore this condolence is in order. As far as the official statement from India that we are talking about, this is as official as it can get. The Foreign Secretary of India signing a condolence book.
Okay, Akansha, your thoughts on this?
Right. So, first of all, let's remind our viewers there were a host of geopolitical reasons and factors that were behind India's silence so far. You, of course, had Prime Minister Modi returning fresh from the visit to Israel. Israel, of course, in the last decade has become a time-tested ally to us because they've also borne the brunt of terrorism. And India has made it amply clear that they will not be standing by any country which is going to prove to be a safe haven for terrorist infrastructure. But having said that, you also have India renewing its ties with other Gulf nations, particularly UAE and even Saudi Arabia. At the same time, the United States is playing a key role over here. We are right, at that point where we are going to finalize that key bilateral trade agreement with the United States. So a host of factors were in fact influencing India.
has managed this very, very well.
That point over here. Now that Vikram Misri, the Foreign Secretary, has signed that condolence book, will this be seen as India's strategic silence? I don't think it should be. Perhaps India was also weighing in on this on its options.
That's what I want to understand from Sanjay Verma. This is the right way of doing things, or India utilizing the right avenues to do and say the right things. There was an opportunity available to sign the condolence book. This is possibly the best way that India could have condoled the former supreme leader's death or killing, and in a way play its part without alienating either Iran or Israel and America here, because they can't hold it against India if India was to sign a condolence book in the Iranian embassy in New Delhi.
Absolutely. So how it works, I'll just tell you the diplomatic thing in this.
Yeah.
The headquarters, in this case, Tehran, would have told all its embassies all over the world to open a condolence book. And once the condolence book is open, which may not be even the next day of the killing, once it is open, only then it is available for signing. So I believe Vikram would have taken the very first day to sign this condolence book, which was available for him to sign. And this is very official, very, very official. foreign secretary of a country signing the condolence book.
So can you think of any precedents of when India has done this in the past, for example, as far as signing a condolence book in New Delhi, in an embassy headquarters in New Delhi is concerned? Anything comes to mind?
Every time a head of state or even head of government dies or is killed, and condolence book is open, India will always go and sign that condolence book. We are very strong at the diplomatique and will continue doing that.
Well, a good opportunity that has been taken from India to also say that we do stand with Iran as far as the death or the killing is concerned. Lieutenant General KJ Singh is also with us, former army commander. Sir, how do you look at India managing both sides here, a diplomatic tightrope, because a lot of questions were mounting why there was no condolence for Khomeini so far?
Shivani and Akansha, the situation is very delicate and there is a fog of war. And like our diplomatic colleague has explained, 3-day official mourning started maybe today and they've opened the condolence book. So at the earliest opportunity, we've done the correct and appropriate thing, and we do it every time there is an officially recognized country's head of state who's killed or who dies due to any reasons. We do. That's part of our culture. Now, as regard, there are some statements, some manipulated kind of egging on that India should make statement, India should condemn. See, that's not done in my perception, because nobody is still very clear about this war. What are the aims of this war? How did it start? Because in last 3-4 days, we were earlier told Israel started the war and USA joined in. Initially, we were told the aim was regime change.
Right. No, sir, I'll come back to you. Why the war and what the reasons? I'll come back to that. I want to go back across to my colleague Siddhant also joining us. Siddhant, any indications we are learning of what has been written? Presumably, the Indian government will release that?
Well, that's right. Shivani, we are waiting for the picture of that condolence book. In fact, we could expect the Iran embassy to be officially releasing the message of India's foreign secretary. But the point, Shivani, which I was making last time was that, it was said that Prime Minister Modi has chosen sides, India has chosen sides after Prime Minister Modi's visit to Israel. Now, Prime Minister's visit to Israel was being planned from a very long time. And after 2 days, Israel and American forces striking Iran, perhaps, people are linking it with his visit, that this was not a right time. But you tell me, Shivani, what had been the right time? Israel is in war from last 2 years.
Yes.
So saying that India has chosen sides is not fair. Point number one. Point number two, as far as condemnation of Iranian strikes on the Gulf countries is concerned, Prime Minister Modi condemned, Foreign Minister condemned. The reason is
Siddhant, I'm losing your audio. I'm going to come back to you. Sanjay Verma, can I ask you exactly what is the kind of message that is usually written in such situations? Could you give us a sense of what is the diplomatic language used?
So basically, he will express his condolences on behalf of the government and people of India, and wherein he will also mention the contribution of the leader for whom he is writing the condolence and the relationship between the two countries. This is the usual format. The words could differ, the sentiments could differ, but this is the general format in which such condolence messages are issued.
Well, because we're showing you these pictures and there is so much interest in what the Indian government could have written, it becomes very important. I think each word is going to be weighed in, isn't it, Akansha? Every word that the Indian Foreign Secretary would have written in his condolence would be read into threadbare.
Absolutely, and perhaps Lieutenant General KJ Dhillon could also weigh in on whether no statement will suffice, and in fact, how is this going to be viewed? It's interesting.
All right. Sorry, Akansha, I have to interrupt you there. Iran envoy Mohammad Fatali has spoken to Network 18. Let's listen in.
What is your appeal to global community in the middle of this war?
Yes, you know that we are mourning because we have lost a great figure and great personality. And you know that His Eminence was our leader and our marja. And I want to say that's our father. And we believe that His Eminence always advise us, you try your best for stand on the right side of history. I believe that His Eminence stood on the right side of history and received his reward from Almighty Allah. And now we announce that we respond strongly, firmly, this assassination. And unfortunately, the United States and the Zionist regime wants to disturb and destroy all the international law and international norms. And you know that we announced that we are, as Iran, due to our capability and capacity, we are ready for negotiation and peace and war. But we prefer the peace. But we are ready, fully ready and completely ready for the war. This is our stance. Now they started the war and we decided to end of the war, the duration of the war.
What is your expectation from Indian government?
You know that we have a good relation with the Indian government. We are expected from our brothers to stand in these situations, and we are expected to all countries that because these situation and these circumstances needs to interfere all the person that fight for freedom to shows his role, to shows his stance, to shows his reaction to these hostile action. And you know that Iran demonstrated its sincerity, and they unfortunately shows open hostility. But I think that we as Iran, we will prevail with the help of Almighty Allah.
Excellency, but Gulf countries are blaming Iran to escalate this war. What is your comment?
We don't want to escalate. They knows very well. And we have a good relation with our neighbors, particularly in Persian Gulfs. But we announced that we attack to the bases of United States.
My final question to you, sir. What will be the way out to finally end this war?
I think that I believe that this is the war of will, battle of will. The result for the side of who have capability.
Let's also go across to Managing Editor Rahul Shivshankar now joining us. Rahul, interesting turn of events. So many questions were mounting on the Indian government, and here you have the Foreign Secretary signing the condolence book. It may be just diplomatique, but it's important.
Well, you know, there are two or three ways of looking at this. Obviously, India has signed this condolence book because we know that the mourning period for Mr. Khamenei has kicked off, and that has happened following an announcement in Iran. So from today, for the next 3 days, we are told that that mourning period is going to unfold, and a book was kept, a commiserations book, so to speak, was kept at the Iranian embassy here in New Delhi. And you saw our Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri going there and signing that book, and he's gone on to say that India condoles the death of Ayatollah Khamenei. Now, if you remember, all of this is, of course, happening in the backdrop of huge political controversy that is brewing in the country over India's stand on this entire episode that is unfolded from Saturday, where in one fell swoop, so to speak, the entire top brass, including Ayatollah Khamenei, of the Iranian regime was wiped out by what was estimated to be between 25 to about 30 JDAMs that were, as you know, fired upon the headquarters of the regime in Tehran. Now, we were told that Khamenei and others had sort of vacated that, but turned out that they hadn't. They were somehow still there. Why they were there, of course, is only known to the Iranian regime. Did they not expect a US and Iran joint attack so soon? We don't know. We can only speculate what went wrong there. The US says that they got actionable intelligence from the Israelis, and they were given to believe that there was an attack that was going to be planned on Israel. So Israel gave them, or they gave the Israelis. Again, that sequence is also very confused.
Right.
And they said that somehow they got to know between the two of them that Khamenei was there, and they carried out that decapitation strike, and that was the end of that. But after that, questions were being asked worldwide on the legality of the action. Now, there was a furious debate that has been raging. India has finally come out and has signed this condolence book because it was accused of not taking a principled and moral stand. I'll come to that. You might even have a question.
Yeah.
But just want to quickly say that perhaps this is an indication that there is a degree of South-South solidarity that is still alive. Now, remember what happened yesterday. An Iranian, well, we got information that an Iranian frigate that had taken part in a very crucial exercise organized by New Delhi, rather by India, was suddenly sunk by a submarine deployed by the United States off the coast of Sri Lanka, out of the territorial waters of Sri Lanka, but close also to, of course, the Indian coast. And that created a frisson of its own, because many people said, is the United States meddling in India's backwaters, in India's sphere of influence? And that was the debate that has raged. And of course, the Congress party and others have attacked the government for not actually securing India's sovereignty by either reacting to that. Is it that the Indians are expressing their disapproval by going and now signing that book of condolences? In other words, taking a position that, look, they valued this life and they think that this life should not have been lost. So perhaps this is that, or they're just being empathetic.
Yeah.
Humanist. Someone has died, he's the leader of a state, and the least you could do as a state with ties, both civilization and diplomatic, with Iran, come out there and sign that book. So we don't know the motivations, but suddenly it has come as a shot pretty much from the blue.
Yeah, you know, but the politics of it, Rahul, you know, you've been tracking this. The government has to do what is the right thing. Maybe they followed procedures, whatever is the diplomatic courtesies here. But the BJP has been going hammer and tongs, kind of, you know, hailing Indian government's position of not condoling Khamenei's death. I'm reading Dr. Nishikant Dubey's BJP MP's tweet, where he has said he is reminding the world that Iran had given money, aircraft, weapons to Pakistan in 65 and 71. Another BJP leader reminding the public that Khamenei was a dictator. So how will the BJP now reconcile that stand versus what the government is doing now?
Yeah, so let me just put it in perspective. An article appeared. First, the Congress launched an attack on the government for not condemning the killing of Khamenei and also the invasion. They said that silence was not neutrality, it was abdication. Abdication of what? A moral responsibility to call out what they believed was an act that even the Indian Constitution doesn't recognize or declares inviolable in law, which is that a sovereign state leadership is attacked by another state without apparent provocation. That is what the Congress said. The Congress then followed it up when Sonia Gandhi wrote an editorial for various newspapers precisely with this headline, saying that your failure to condemn, your silence is actually not neutrality, it is moral abdication. And within minutes of that article appearing in the newspapers, the BJP went to town. You had various spokespeople of the BJP. You had also MPs from the BJP. You had a BJP Karnataka leader like R. Ashok. You referred to Nishikant Dubey, who is a vociferous defender of the government and one of the frontline spokespersons of the government, even in the Lok Sabha during debates and so on and so forth. And he talked about 65 and 71. We're talking about BJP Karnataka leader R. Ashok, who is now talking in much more contemporary terms. And he says, quote, Kamini was a dictator. There was internal rebellion against him. Atrocities were committed against women there, implying misogyny. Thousands of people were shot dead, implying that he was actually carrying out a genocide of its own people. Despite many places in India, including Bengaluru, Muslims have protested in favor of Khamenei. Ashoka said at a press conference in Bengaluru on Monday. So as I said, on the day of that article, all of this came out. He urged that action should be taken against those who took the law into their hands, adding that India maintains cordial ties with Israel by pursuing a balanced foreign policy. India is not against any country. My opinion is that there should be no war. The central government has never supported war, which is also the Indian government stand, that we want, of course, at some level or the other, peace to return, and we are willing to play our part in ensuring that the two sides come back to the dialogue table. But fundamentally, you have a situation where the BJP is going to be called out for attacking the Congress, and the Congress is probably going to jump at this and is going to attack, because they're going to say that, look, when we pointed this out and we pointed out the delay, you were defending the fact that you were dealing. So this is going to be playing out politically. It will be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah. We also have to wait and watch, as my colleague Pallavi is pointing out, for all of their bluster. Is the Congress, as the leading opposition, or other members of the opposition, sending anybody to the Iran embassy so that they can also register their
sources?
Yeah.
That this demonstrates a graded response. It would be wrong to suggest that or frame this in the binaries that certain political parties might be wanting to frame this in, and that official participation is not a political response. Private message is not a public message. So that is what the government sources are suggesting here. So quite clearly, you have a situation where the government is trying to suggest that we cannot look at this from a political lens, because what the government does is not a political lens. It has a longer view of issues and so on and so forth. So already you can see that the government is responding to what people are saying, or perhaps to those that might be in some sense coming out and saying that there is some disconnect between the position of the party and the position of the government.
Yeah. Well, government basically indicating there, Rahul, that this is not a rollback on what they had decided or said or not said earlier. This is just following of procedures and diplomatic courtesies. As our diplomatic guest was also telling us earlier, this is routine. Any time a head of state dies, passes away, or in this case is killed. We'll keep a very strong focus on this. More political reactions expected. Time for a very short break.
Man who, along with his co-authors, meticulously tracked every moment, every sortie, every signal in the skies. Tom Cooper uncovers the truth behind the Rafale bogey, what happened in that first initial hour and who owned it, the mysterious Kirana Hills, the nuclear bluff, and from being spooked, smoked and smashed, the entire battle behind the headlines is finally revealed. What actually happened with Pakistan in Operation Sindoor. In his revelatory new book, aviation analyst and also military historian Tom Cooper lays bare the untold events within Operation Sindoor. And it's called the 88 Hours War, the India-Pakistan War of May 2025. I've got the book here. We've got a copy. It's out in Bharat also. It was released in the UK internationally about 2 months ago. We've got the book. Let's first ask Tom Cooper. This must feel very, very good.
Yes, absolutely. It was a piece of very tough work, weeks long research and digging through the social media in particular, with help of not only 3 fantastic researchers who are professionals and doing this for years already, but also 2 additional gentlemen from India who have helped with their own research.
So there's Ravi Rikhe, Sanjay Badri Maharaj, and also Mangesh Sawant, so credit to them too. But Tom Cooper, you led this conversation. Let me first ask you this.
Yes.
Who won this war?
Well, this is India, this is clear. This is beyond any kind of doubt that it was India. As I said already back then in May, June last year, a clear-cut victory for India, and one of very few wars of the last 30, 40, 50 years where there is such a clear outcome like in this one.
Okay, let's recreate the first few hours, viewers. I'm just going to quickly take you through what happened, and it's chronicled in this book. This is all from the book excerpt. So first up, the India strike on Pakistan, as the idea, the information that was already given. We'll ask Tom to express it and explain to us in detail. The IAF strike window was between 1:04 to 1:24 a.m. This was the strike window, and these were the areas that had been struck, the terror hubs, the terror notion. The weapons were fired over Pakistani airspace. The PAF's response was delayed by minutes, and the first reaction was at 00:36 Pakistan Standard Time. So this was the first reaction at 00:36 Pakistan Standard Time. And also Rawalpindi, one SAM site, there was that was fired. Missiles were fired.
Missiles, yes.
Yeah, and missiles were fired from the Nur Khan Air Base also, and also there was the HQ-9 missiles that turned towards Akhrur axis, and targets were hit in Muridke area. No IAF aircraft was hit by the surface-to-air missile.
It is
Sam,
one of the
that's what
most
you're saying.
amazing. It
Yeah.
is one of the most amazing thing about this. And one goes through the reports by Pakistani people, civilians, like us, reporting what is going on in all these areas. They report no movement by Pakistani aircraft. They report no movement by Pakistani aircraft, even at air bases where it is known that Pakistan Air Force is holding its fighters on quick reaction alert. Nothing. They report merely firings of 2 SAMs from one base and 3 from Nur Khan. So, and that at the time, the Indian Air Force strike must have been in full gear. That means the aircraft have already approached the border. They're climbing and releasing their weaponry before turning down to hide in the lower over the ground. That means Pakistani Air Force, by all of its claims, whatever was it's claiming, for example, Air Vice Marshal Ahmad during his famous press conference, he was claiming about how Pakistani Air Force moved in, and there was a huge air battle, and they were breaking
There was
Indian
a dogfight and all of that.
Dogfight, the biggest dogfight of all the times, and whatever else. Nothing of that kind has happened. Indian Air Force has hit its targets and flew away. That's it.
That's it. So there was no, because there was also that, was there a PAF interception that happened? Because they said that there was an interceptor that was fired. What was fired by the Pakistanis?
It is
what
possible,
was the PL-15s?
It is possible that one of the Pakistani J-10s has fired a single PL-15 at one of involved the Indian aircraft, but this missile has crashed, hit the ground inside India. That's it. Not one Indian aircraft was shot down by them.
Not one Indian aircraft was shot down. Let's sit back, because what the narrative was that, and they say that this PL-15 actually fell down near Pandhar in Gurdaspur. The impact was 30 kilometers inside Bharat, and the Army Air Defense actually reacted first. But my question to you is, in that 1 hour, there was a lot of speculation that was made, Tom. And what have you found in the book? If you look at it, you say the spark. You've given a background to why India did it. When you did the, the jihad import-export, that's the page that I've just opened. So let's understand this. Were you convinced as a military historian that Bharat was right in conducting operations in the
For a simple reason that Pakistan is, as we said, we have written jihad import-export. It is organizing, training, supporting, commanding jihadists for 50 years, constantly searching for new ways to organize new organizations or new groups to find them. And this is nothing new in that sense. It might be new for somebody in the United States or Europe, but it is not new for India. It is even less so new for Pakistanis. They're even denying it sometimes. that they are doing anything. On the other hand, they have chiefs of their top political parties openly declaring their political parties as fronts of this jihadist movements.
Right.
So therefore, and that's what I pointed out, even 9/11 in the United States was original mastermind came from Pakistan. And he was trained by inter-service intelligence and later on arrested in Pakistan and jailed in the United States. So therefore, it is really Pakistan which is a center of well, international jihadism.
Right, and you've also listed the kind of organizations where the ISI instigated over 12,000 attacks, all undertaken by organizations like the Jammu Kashmir Liberation Front, Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, and the Hizbul Mujahideen.
Yeah, we went through the records and counted over. So this is since the year 2001. Over 12,000 terrorist attacks inside India.
Welcome back. Let's get you some more updates coming in. UAE has now announced an early spring break for schools and universities from March 9. Remember, UAE, one of those countries that has received the largest barrage of Iranian drones and missiles, along with Saudi Arabia, but certainly UAE has received hundreds more than any other country. In fact, there's a comparison between how many UAE has had to fend off versus even Israel, and UAE has had more. So they've had to announce an early spring break now.
Absolutely, and we all know that this is a very critical time given the examinations of the schools have been going on even in colleges, and so for them to have announced this kind of a shutdown from 9th of March is almost unprecedented, but that is, you know, when the going gets tough get going, and that is exactly what UAE also has to do right now. As we said, that in the last 48 hours we had seen that there was a calming of tensions, but from today, in fact from last night, we've seen again there is a revival of tensions as far as Abu Dhabi and Dubai both are concerned. We also broke the news earlier of how there were several people, in fact 6 individuals who had been severely, gravely injured in Abu Dhabi. We'll have to see how these tensions are now in fact de-escalated. That should be the priority for the US allies.
Yes, we've got more breaking updates coming in. Iran is certainly not sitting quietly. Now the Iranians are telling us that they have attacked the Ben Gurion airport in Israel. That's of course one of the key airports in Israel. That is airport has now been attacked, Israel's Ben Gurion airport. This is the one that the Prime Minister used just a few days ago.
And we'll have to see, we are waiting more visuals to come in terms of to be able to assess the impact of that damage. But it's an international airport. It's one of the leading ones, Ben Gurion Airport. This is where all the dignitaries, as Shivani was highlighting, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi, also was given a red carpet welcome, where Prime Minister Netanyahu, accompanied by his wife Sarah Netanyahu, were there just days ago receiving the Prime Minister. And you have the Iranians now attacking this very airport. Let's quickly bring back the attention on to how airports are particularly being targeted, whether it is not just now in Iran. You've seen the case in Azerbaijan, even in Dubai, other locations as well. There's a conscious effort to in fact disrupt global world travel at the moment.
Yes, including flights certainly. We've got a CNN report coming in from Iran. Let's take a look.
We just crossed the border and are now inside of Iran. The Iranian government has granted us a visa to come here and to report from the Islamic Republic of Iran. We're now trying to make our way to the capital, Tehran, as fast as possible. But of course, the distances in this huge country are immense, and we know it's going to take many, many hours for us to get there. We also don't know what the situation on the road to Tehran is going to look like, how many checkpoints there's going to be, and of course we know at the same time there are massive combat operations also going on. The United States and Israel are continuing their huge aerial campaign against targets inside of Iran. At the same time, the Iranians continue to retaliate, not just with their ballistic missiles, but with their drones, mostly hitting Israel, but then also American military installations, especially in the Gulf region, but in general in the Middle East. In total, the Iranians are saying that they can continue this campaign for a very long time. They say that their missile arsenal is still immense, and they haven't even used some of their most modern missiles. But we also, of course, know that the place that we aim to go to, Tehran, has been under almost sustained attacks with massive airstrikes going on there and also huge damage being caused, and of course, many people also having been harmed.
Man who, along with his co-authors, meticulously tracked every moment, every sortie, every signal in the skies. Tom Cooper uncovers the truth behind the Rafale bogey, what happened in that first initial hour and who owned it, the mysterious Kirana Hills, the nuclear bluff, and from being spooked, smoked and smashed, the entire battle behind the headlines is finally revealed. What actually happened with Pakistan in Operation Sindoor. In his revelatory new book, aviation analyst and also military historian Tom Cooper lays bare the untold events within Operation Sindoor. And it's called the 88 Hours War, the India-Pakistan War of May 2025. I've got the book here. We've got a copy. It's out in Bharat also. It was released in the UK internationally about 2 months ago. We've got the book. Let's first ask Tom Cooper. This must feel very, very good.
Yes, absolutely. It was a piece of very tough work, weeks-long research and digging to the social media in particular, with help of not only 3 fantastic researchers who are professionals and doing this for years already, but also 2 additional gentlemen from India who have helped with their own research.
So there's Ravi Rikhe, Sanjay Badri Maharaj, and also Mangesh Sawant, so credit to them too. But Tom Cooper, you led this conversation. Let me first ask you this. Yes. Who won this war?
Well, this is India, this is clear. This is beyond any kind of doubt that it was India. As I said already back then in May, June last year, a clear-cut victory for India, and one of very few wars of the last 30, 40, 50 years where there is such a clear outcome like in this one.
Okay, let's recreate the first few hours, viewers. I'm just going to quickly take you through what happened, and it's chronicled in this book. This is all from the book excerpt. So first up, the India strike on Pakistan, as the idea, the information that was already given. We'll ask Tom to express it and explain to us in detail. The IAF strike window was between 1:04 to 1:24 a.m. This was the strike window, and these were the areas that had been struck, the terror hubs, the terror notion. The weapons were fired over Pakistani airspace. The PAF's response was delayed by minutes, and the first reaction was at 00:36 Pakistan Standard Time. So this was the first reaction at 00:36 Pakistan Standard Time. And also Rawalpindi, one SAM site, there was that was fired. Missiles were fired.
Missiles, yes.
Yeah, and missiles were fired from the Nur Khan Air Base also, and also there was the HQ-9 missiles that turned towards Akhrur axis, and targets were hit in Muridke area. No IAF aircraft was hit by the surface-to-air missile.
It is one of the most amazing. It is one of the most amazing thing about this. When one goes through the reports by Pakistani people, civilians, like us, reporting what is going on in all these areas. They report no movement by Pakistani aircraft. They report no movement by Pakistani aircraft, even at air bases where it is known that Pakistan Air Force is holding its fighters on quick reaction alert. Nothing. They report merely firings of 2 SAMs from one base and 3 from Nur Khan. So, and that at the time, the Indian Air Force strike must have been in full gear. That means the aircraft have already approached the border. They're climbing and releasing their weaponry before turning down to hide in the lower over the ground. That means Pakistani Air Force, by all of its claims, whatever was it's claiming, for example, Air Vice Marshal Ahmad during his famous press conference, he was claiming about how Pakistani Air Force moved in, and there was a huge air battle, and they were breaking Indian bones.
There was a dogfight and all of that.
Dogfight, biggest dogfight of all the times and whatever else. Nothing of that kind has happened. Indian Air Forces hit its targets and flew away. That's it.
That's it. So there was no, because there was also that, was there a PAF interception that happened? Because they said that there was an interceptor that was fired. What was fired by the Pakistanis?
It is
what was the
possible,
PL-15s?
It is possible that one of the Pakistani J-10s has fired a single PL-15 at one of involved the Indian aircraft, but this missile has crashed, hit the ground inside India. That's it. Not one Indian aircraft was shot down by them.
Not one Indian aircraft was shot down. Let's sit back, because what the narrative was that, and they say that this PL-15 actually fell down near Pandhar in Gurdaspur. The impact was 30 kilometers inside Bharat, and the Army Air Defense actually reacted first. But my question to you is, in that 1 hour, there was a lot of speculation that was made, Tom. And what have you found in the book? If you look at it, you say the spark. You've given a background to why India did it. When you did the, the jihad import-export, that's the page that I've just opened. So let's understand this. Were you convinced as a military historian that Bharat was right in conducting operations in
For a simple reason that Pakistan is, as we said, we have written jihad import-export. It is organizing, training, supporting, commanding jihadists for 50 years, constantly searching for new ways to organize new organizations or new groups to find them. And this is nothing new in that sense. It might be new for somebody in the United States or Europe, but it is not new for India. It is even less so new for Pakistanis. They're even denying it sometimes, that they are doing anything. On the other hand, they have chiefs of their top political parties openly declaring their political parties as fronts of this jihadist movements.
Right.
So therefore, and that's what I pointed out, even 9/11 in the United States was original mastermind came from Pakistan. And he was trained by inter-service intelligence and later on arrested in Pakistan and jailed in the United States. So therefore, it is really
Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to yet another edition of Take 3 XL, because along with Zaka Jacob, Rahul Shivshankar, we also have Tom Cooper with us, and let's try and understand where this war is going, what direction it is taking. Tom, we were asking where are the ballistic missiles from the Iranians? They've just attacked Ben Gurion Airport. How do you see this panning out? Do the Iranians have far more than what has been estimated?
They are definitely continuing to wage their guerrilla missile war. That means they are using what they can. They can't use too much without exposing themselves to strikes. They are also hindered by, I guess, that the Americans and Israelis are striking entrances to their underground missile cities. The Americans and Israelis are trying to knock out these missile cities. They are suppressing a lot, but in turn they are also losing air. Iranians are maneuvering their air defenses around and hiding them, then suddenly appearing at unexpected positions. So it is moving in direction as expected right now.
Because the Iranians have come out and said, we are ready to shut down our nuclear program if you give us an alternative. Now, if you're going to make something like that, that means you've suffered heavy losses. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, probably, I would say yes. On the other hand, it's abandoning their sovereignty, because they have repeatedly declared it is a part of their sovereignty. So why now do that? I don't know.
Does that not show that the Americans are really making inroads now? Or would you say that we're still too far away from calling this?
Well, it's not getting over.
No.
Certainly not in the next few weeks. But I think we can now sort of safely predict the direction in which this war is going. As Tom said, this is a war of attrition, right? There's a limited number of missiles and even drones, frankly, that Iran has. And they're going to expand, not all of it, but most of it, because it's a battle for survival. Their game plan was very clear. Draw in the entire region, attack Qatar and UAE and Saudi Arabia, because, you know, if it's just Iran versus America and Israel, Iran will be a goner.
Yeah.
The only way they can make sure that this entire thing works out in their favor is by unleveling the playing field. Right now, if it's just America, Israel, and Iran, the playing field is skewed entirely against Iran. The only way they can, hope to have some kind of an upper hand is, as Tom has been saying, go guerrilla, which is what they've done, and two, drag the entire region down. I suspect at some point this will also get into a ground sort of combat, not with American boots. I'm very clear. I don't think Trump will risk that ever, especially after what happened in Iraq with George Bush. I don't think any American president will risk American boots on the ground. I think what Trump is trying to do is instigate the Kurds, the Iraqi Kurds, the Iranian Kurds, and we know that there is this whole unfinished project of Kurdistan. It had a role in Iraq as well. What did they do in Iraq? I mean, they basically got the Ba'athis, they got Saddam Hussein, and they put whoever they could find in power, and then left that country to a bloody insurgency for the next 20 years. I think Iran is moving in that direction in the long term.
Yeah, somewhere there are also experts who believe they'll carve out an Azerbaijan and get the Azerbaijanis and the Bazeris to come there. They will try and make Iran smaller. So they carves out a Kurdistan, and then there is always flux, while there is perhaps a more, but that's going to take time, Rahul, and that means it's going to hurt us. Well, and let's come back to the India story here. We are saying strategic autonomy, but hey, no LNG, no energy, our rates are going to go, it's going to create a huge domestic issue here for us very soon.
Yeah, so just to take it in a couple of steps, just to go back to the original question that you posed, what's Iran's game plan? Because it already depends on how quickly Iran folds, if it does at all. Now, I have my view on this, and I've sort of put out a tweet which has got some traction on it. Looking at all this footage that was coming out overnight of these constant missile launches that Iran TV and Tehran Times keep putting out footage of. And I'm like wondering what is going on. How is it that if the Israelis and the US claim that they have total domination and they can, even the moment a missile approaches on the radar, it's taken out, even if a launcher sort of manages to get out of its silo or whatever it is, bunker, shankar, whatever they call it, and it comes out, we knock it out. So how is it that the Iranians, and you just pointed out to this Ben Gurion conversation that is happening, we're still awaiting actually details, so I'm not going to jump on that, but I think you have to understand that the entire defense program of the Iranian regime, in the absence of a credible nuclear deterrent, was based on survival, on how to ensure that it could actually last. So all its capacities, it's called these missile underground cities.
Yeah.
Apparently, that's what they've built. These massive silos which go underground, a Warren labyrinth of tunnels where all these drones are stocked, and you sometimes see visuals that they put out, to sort of jimmy up their own morale from time to time. So all of it is there. All they need to do from time to time is to take one out and hope that it goes across and creates enough of a buzz. It sounds like a mosquito in any case, so it carries a bit of dread. If you've heard those kamikaze drones, it just does that, and everyone sort of freezes until they have a chokehold. And I said this yesterday, over the Strait of Hormuz, or they can ensure that nothing moves. They have leverage. I feel that this will be decided really in that strait. The moment Iran doesn't have the ability to threaten cargo trade, money in one sense, from moving, I think they lose leverage. How will they bring the Chinese? How will they agitate them enough if the Chinese suddenly get... And you're talking about India. I think we should go back to getting Russian oil. I don't see why we should be sitting on formalities now. I mean, everything goes out, force majeure is in. And we should...
What happens is every nation today, Vladimir Putin was on record, he was saying it in jest or no, but he says there are other markets that are opening up for LNG. So should I stop supply to the Europeans and said supply to these countries? See, every nation has a stockpile and also reserves for all. And it's 30 to 60 days. In our case, I think we're somewhere between 30 to 45 days. This is just the 6th or 7th day of this entire war. Do you think in the first 10 days or 12 days, if things don't settle down, we will have to look at our options? The other thing, and I want both of you gents to also weigh in on this, is China's role. China was highly active on social media during Op Sindoor. It's silent now. China is not, rather outside of condemning it, has actually come out to say, I'm going to mediate with the Middle East nations. Yes. It's not coming out and saying, I'm going to come out and help Iran. Yeah. What's the game here?
Tom.
It's a good question. What is the game? What is the Chinese game? For my taste, they are almost too quiet. I don't know what to expect from that, really. I'm not sure
So
what
is
to
that
answer.
more ominous? Is that more dangerous because they're too quiet?
Too quiet, because theoretically they are now in perfect position to say, okay, let's exploit the opportunity and invade Taiwan. And the Americans couldn't do anything at all because they do not have the weaponry to do that. But they are not doing that. And this is, in turn, weeks ago, there was this unrest within higher ranks in Beijing. And plenty of my colleagues came over and said, oh, look, Xi wants to invade Taiwan, but somebody is against this, so he's purging them. I said, no, I think it is opposite. It is the other way around. He's purging those who want to invade. So I see
so you're saying Xi Jinping doesn't want to invade Taiwan?
He does not want any kind of war. He knows that the Communist Party of China rules on premise that they have to secure this social situation of their society to improve the economy and improve the quality of living in all of China. And as long as they are granting this, everything is fine. If not, there might be an uprising, unrest, or whatever. And therefore, I think he's very curious to have a stable situation, to open new markets for the economy to continue developing, and so on and so on. So he's not curious to increase tensions, cause additional crisis, wars, and such things.
So is that the reason why the Chinese social media machinery has also been quiet in this case?
Yes.
They're okay to try and mess with the to India and in the India-Pak game and play their have their fun here.
I think both China and India are
playing
the
get
best
into the
card
Iran game
in this situation in order, while remaining kind of not quiet totally, not ignorant of the situation, but simply taking it kind of easier.
But in this case, Iran is an old friend of the Chinese, and they've had tech transfers and all. Your call here?
I think the Chinese are scared. I think Xi Jinping is looking at this with a great degree of trepidation. It's not just Khamenei. Khamenei was a 40-year reign, and somebody who's been a friend of China, right? Half of Iran's oil exports used to go to China. And in one morning, the Israelis and the Americans have come, swooped in and wiped him out. They did this with Maduro. Maduro was no friend of America. Maduro was a friend of China. So in the space of 2 months, they've taken out Maduro and they've taken out Khamenei, both of which are big oil exporters to China. So Xi Jinping is very, very worried, looking at the speed and scale with which the Americans have done this to two of China's very best friends, one in Latin America, the other in West Asia. Two, on the point of Taiwan, I slightly disagree with Tom. I think Xi Jinping's legacy is built on what he does with Taiwan. He's going to be in his 4th term. I think he'll get a 4th term next year, 2027. That would be the longest serving ruler of China since Mao. Even Deng Xiaoping did not rule China for 20 years. So what will he be remembered for? The only thing he can be remembered for is Taiwan, because China's economic miracle precedes Xi Jinping. If anything, in the last 10 years, China has slowed down compared to, let's say, the
but annexing Taiwan doesn't help him.
Not annexing Taiwan. I think
attacking Taiwan doesn't help Xi Jinping.
Again, it doesn't necessarily have to be through military means. But the whole thing about reunification, that is something that is primary, I believe, to his legacy. And just very quickly, what is going to happen in the immediate term in terms of China? So Trump is going to go to China end of this month. It's a declared summit, I think 31st, 1st and 2nd. He's in Beijing. And Xi Jinping is watching this and saying, we were supposed to announce that trade agreement between America and China. It's the only big country with whom America has not announced a trade thing. And despite all the Supreme Court verdict and all of that, Donald Trump goes into China with the upper hand. He's just shown to Beijing, I've taken out 2 of your allies in the last 2 months. I'm displaying hard military power to you. I don't think Xi Jinping is in a comfortable position.
But the Chinese are not the ones who are going to take this line down. They will play the long game, they will wait, they'll bide their time, but they will come back. There's going to be whiplash for this, and we are stuck right bang in the middle of all this, Rahul. And that's something we've got to be worried about.
Scared. I don't believe that at all. I don't think China is shaking in its boots. So let's just, that's my view. Because look, this oil business can backfire. The Chinese have furnaces to light. The Indians have furnaces to light. Right? 20% of our oil also comes from the Middle East.
LNG, Qatar, yeah.
Oil prices are going up, right? Who's actually going to suffer in the end? Europe is going to suffer. A lot of US allies are going to suffer. If this oil is not going to come out of the Strait of Hormuz, the Gulf countries are going to suffer.
Yes.
It's not just oil. If there is instability in the Gulf, the miracle on which these various countries stand, those are at stake. Where do you think Israel is getting its oil from? You have a lot of problems with regards to playing this loaded game with oil because someone has to supplement.
Yeah.
Right? OPEC says, yes, we're going to produce more,
Right.
but if it's all going to sit in a port and you have to find longer routes to get it out, it's going to be expensive.
Let me ask you.
And that's why your oil prices are already going past the $80 a barrel, and they could touch 100. And once that begins to happen, you've got an economic, the basis of the circumstances for economic chaos across large geographies, Anand. So you have to look at this as a two-edged blade. So Donald Trump is really walking a very, very tight rope here. And the longer this war goes, more these straits and this stuff is jammed and locked down. It's going to be a problem. Pain for everybody.
It's pain for everybody.
If you're already saying that Russia is sort of saying that, oh, maybe
America's
we're going to shut off LNG for Europe.
Does it not suit Trump's narrative of trying to put all these nations, push them back, or is he going to try and turn them hostile? Or the other thing is, in the next week, over the course of the next 3 or 4 days.
Just think about it logically. If tomorrow India's economy slows, Chinese economy slows, the world economy slows, the Americans are also producing something, right? They need markets.
And it's eventually going to come back in it. It's only eventually going to come back in it.
Someone has got to, at the end of the day,
okay, let me ask you, in the next 4 days, in the next 4 to 5 days, let's say by next Wednesday or Thursday, let's say a week, 6-7 days, if Trump is able to open up, or the American army is able to open up the Strait of Hormuz, does that then change this entire game? Does that then change? You take the Strait of Hormuz and control of Strait of Hormuz from Iran.
Only to a certain extent. Only to a certain extent. It's not some magical cure that's going to sort of change things. Yes, what it does is the leverage that Iran has right now decreases.
Yeah.
Then it comes right back to Iran's door. What is the next step? China doesn't have to really take a position then. They're getting their oil.
Yeah.
They're happy.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, sorry. You're saying this. Why I'm saying it is, if Iran is pushed out of here, that means they're going to be hammered so badly that they cannot do anything to attack the Strait of Hormuz. That means they're very, very weak. What happens then internally is one part. But the moment this strait is opened, Trump has a story to say, tell the world, listen, I've secured the strait. I've won this for you guys. I've done it for you guys. All these economies are happy because my job's happening.
So
my trade's
can
happening.
Even declare victory and go home.
Yeah, he can. He can just say, my job is done. I've opened the straits. I can go home now. You guys decide what you want to do.
And to make
is
sure
that possible?
Yes, it's perfectly possible. And to make sure oil and gas are then going to restart flowing. Problem? UAE, United Arab Emirates, and Qatari economies in particular have experienced a massive blow now. And especially the Emirates, which was a sort of never-ending party, actually. I can tell you at least that is the impression created in Europe over the last 10 years. And now this party is over and people are scared to go down there. So this economy is not going to recover that quickly. While it is, together with Israel, the pillar of US alliances in the area, even more so than Saudi Arabia. So this is, for example, one of long-term problems that's going to emerge. Another problem is, regardless what happens in regards of how much the Americans and Israel is going to manage to suppress or not suppress the Iranian capability to fire missiles and UAVs, how much Trump's armed forces managed to reopen the Hormuz, the IGC is going to continue fighting. And as long as there is remains capable of firing at least a single missile or single UAV,
that's right.
this is not over.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's not going to happen